Leather belt, 4 strength, 4 stam.
Ah, that meme is everywhere.
I love it. How's it going, everyone? And welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTJProductions.com with your favorite show hosts and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts. Are still
Fenorian.
And Volcel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week that was. But first of all, if you would like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw. Or you can join us in our Discord server, which you can easily access by clicking the Discord link in the video description, or alternatively, you can get there by clicking on the show logo on any of our recent show posts at vtwproductions.com.
Yes, indeedy. So, on the stream today, I'm just playing a bit of Final Fantasy again. This, yeah, we've been kind of been eaten by the MMO bug again.
I feel
It was going
dirty.
to happen.
I feel like I've fallen off the wagon. I feel like everything is wrong with my life right now.
More to the point, you
Like-
fell off the wagon, and you kind of bounced off the really good wagon, and you landed on the crap wagon.
No, I fell off the first
you
wagon.
fell
and got
off the
ran over
wagon.
by the one behind it.
You fell off the wagon so hard that you flew back 15 years in time.
You did.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
No, not much, really. All right.
How bad did the wagon get falled off?
I'm just going to stand here and do the Mandeville dance for the moment. Right, so, yeah, my week, I guess we'll just jump straight into it. So my week has been bad. It's been mostly adulting. Way too much adulting.
Yeah.
So I don't think
Sucks, man.
anyone really wants to hear stories about talking with bankers. Because, yeah.
Oh, that's the really not fun personal side of adulting.
Yeah.
Every part of that is just no thank you.
Nope. Just all kinds of nope. Ugh. Okay, that's enough Mandeville dancing. I'm going to go Golden Saucer.
Go play
So,
Mahjong.
as far as gaming go, I haven't gotten too much in, unfortunately, so it's going to be a pretty clipped short week for me. It's largely been Final Fantasy 14 when I've had time. I've been playing through the Heavenswood story and getting really wrapped up in it because it is a very good story. Like, there's a few story beats, like you can see them coming a mile away. Particularly the, and minor spoilers here, the bit where it turns out that the church is wrong and is the bad guy. I know, right?
A church that's corrupt in a fantasy setting?
I mean, you look at the Archbishop the very first time he shows up, and you look at him and just think, yep, he's a bad guy.
If somebody can point me to a church that doesn't inevitably come out as corrupt in any high fantasy setting, please do that, because I can't think of one.
Yeah, I honestly can't think of any situations where the church has turned out to be the good guy in any fantasy story.
Yeah, I can think of a couple where the church is just kind of there, but inevitably if a church forms the main part of a story, they're either going to be the super awesome demon-busting badasses or super corrupt.
I can't even think of any ones where they stay the good guy. If they're made out to be a good guy, inevitably they will be the bad guy.
Yeah, but at least this one was foreshadowed. Like, the Archbishop looks completely evil. But that at least leads into an extremely good dungeon to do, which is the Vault.
Yeah, I like that. I did it a few times.
Yeah, just don't do what our healer did. The first time I went through it, the healer was also going through it for the first time. Aggro mechanics in that dungeon work a bit differently from normal. It's not just throw your tank at the group of enemies when you see them. This is first person across the threshold is now the tank.
Yeah. You can't run ahead. If you run ahead, you're gonna be eating pavement very quickly.
Yeah, so we ended up with a squashed healer. That was fun.
That's good. I had one of those in Final Fantasy 14 this week. Was doing a few dungeons for the first time, and he decided I wasn't going fast enough.
Oh, no.
And so he would go run ahead and pull like 30 groups and die.
Have you told him? I'm not making up for your stupidity.
I've had a few of those in the past. I don't really understand, like, the thing is that tanks are in higher demand than healers as a general rule.
Yes, to the point
So-
where Final Fantasy XIV actually has mounts you can earn specifically for tanking.
So it seems to me like it's not actually productive to try and throw a tantrum as a healer because they can just get rid of you and get another one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can understand a tank thinking that they're so cool that they can pull everything and then leave and they are punishing their group because they're affecting their group profoundly. The group will have to wait for a new healer, but I mean for a new tank. But that doesn't apply to healers. It just doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they're just gonna hop up and down like a bunny rabbit in front of you and go pull the whole dungeon.
Yep. Have fun with that.
I think his response was after he died the first time, tank, in all caps the second time.
No.
I took the leave penalty for that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I'm not putting up with this. I don't know how to kick people with a controller. I'm out.
Yeah, generally in these dungeons, if your tank is going at a slower speed, there's usually a reason for it. Either the tank is not confident, or they're learning, or they just don't think the healer's up to the task. There's usually
Or
a
I ain't
reason.
been there before.
Yeah.
Like, I literally don't know what's around the next corner.
So this thing, if you look down in the bottom corner, kind of over here. Oh, hang on, you can't see it because I don't have a cursor. Hang on, I'm just going to make it big, and I'm going to just do this. This thing here is a text box. You type questions into it. Use it.
Or you can just look at the tank and see the little sproutling next to their name. Oh, this guy ain't done this very much before.
Yeah, this guy knew.
Like,
Yeah, you see it a lot though. Like the thing is, it seems to just be the way people do things at the higher end of the game is you just run like a madman along, popping every cooldown you've got to survive the trash and keep pulling. Like that's just the way that people do it. But if that's your expectation, you should run with a tank who always does that.
Yeah, if
As
you're
far
with
as
an
I'm
unknown
concerned,
tank,
because-
slow down.
The reality is, even when I'm with a group of people who are all obviously experienced because they're all wearing gear from Shadowbringers, even in that case, the runs where we've got a newbie tank who pulls rationally always go smoother, and they don't take any longer.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. They don't actually take any longer. They might take like maybe 60 seconds longer or something like that. But generally speaking, there's just no advantage to mass pulling. Like once upon a time, there really was. Like there were a number of dungeons that had been designed in the past in A Realm Reborn, where there were particular techniques that you could use whereby you will pull large numbers of trash all the way through the instance to particular gates and kill them all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the most efficient way of doing things. The dungeons really aren't built that way anymore, that's a good way of doing things. So it's not really beneficial. And usually if you were going to do a mass pulling one, for the majority of A Realm Reborn, the practice was that you would sort of highlight your group as being a group that does this, and you would go up on the board to form groups as opposed to using the automatic duty finder thing. You would post a grouping thing.
Yeah.
You know how I don't know, I presume you can still do that. I haven't tried.
Yeah, you can.
But
Still
but that was how you formed groups for that, because everybody had to be on board with the plan and know how to do it.
Yep.
But nowadays it seems like people just demand that you run ahead and pull everything because reason. It's not beneficial. It just isn't. That's laying aside whether the tank is experienced about it or not. The problem is that, if you do it all perfectly, it is slightly faster. If you ever make one mistake, it becomes much slower. The risk reward is not worth it.
No. So the old rule applies. Don't be an asshole.
It is the
Yeah.
internet, so
Yeah.
you're asking a lot.
I know. It is a very tall order.
Oh dear. There's another half of that story I'll save for my week.
All right. So I haven't run into any bad groups. Bad groups anyway. Just some people kind of got a little bit overconfident on a couple of runs, but nothing serious. So I've had a fairly good week on those terms. Though, as far as my story progress goes, I've run up to Bismarck and I haven't tried him yet. So that's going to be interesting. So from what I can tell, Bismarck is not so much you fight the primal himself, you fight tons and tons of ads, and then jump on his back when he comes in close. Or when you reel him in close, rather. But there's mechanics that a lot of the guys actually don't tell you. Like, about halfway through the fight, there's 2 big ads that pop up. You need to keep them separate. Otherwise, everyone gets murdered. So, we'll see. Like, I know a lot of the guides tend to make things sound a bit more intense than they end up being, but yeah.
Well, you say that, but I'm here to tell you that when it's fresh content and everybody is level appropriate and slightly undergeared, it can be pretty intense.
Admittedly, yeah, I'm 2 expansions behind at this point. So,
Yeah.
I'm catching up. Slowly catching up. I just don't want to miss out on the story, because the story is good. We got the anniversary event, which is basically Yoshi P's excuse to poke holes in the 4th wall every year. And
Yeah, but I like them. I sort of think it's there's something more personal about it than the way Blizzard does, which is to just give you a Chivo.
it's an achievement, and it's a letter in the mailbox. Sometimes like, thank you for playing for year, beep boop, have a toy.
Here's a toy or a pet or a tabard.
Or something, yeah.
Or all of the above if you happen to miss the previous years or something.
If they bother.
Man,
Beep boop.
getting a tabard is just the worst.
Like, everybody's got their tabard they wear that fits with their outfit in WoW.
I don't. I just stopped using them because I didn't really like any of them.
Most of them
BC
pretty ugly.
onwards. I just kept the Shattered Sun tabard on all the time because I thought it was the coolest looking one.
Yeah.
And never ever found one that could replace it. Ever.
I lurk.
There's this big fat guy standing behind me.
Yes, there is.
Is it named Fern?
It might
Yes.
be. All right, that's not.
I must say that gun looks ridiculous on you.
This is the gun that came from the Yokai Watch crossover event. So it's based on a robot cat. I actually kind of want that event to come around because a lot of the weapon designs in it are really, really dumb.
That's why you want it back, because it's dumb.
It also comes with 2 of the world's dumbest mounts, which is that flying ghost thing.
Ah, right, yeah, that thing.
Is it worse than seeing a Corvette drive by while you're out in a high fantasy world?
Yes. Because this... Let me go out into the world, and I will show you this mount. It is the most ridiculous thing going. Here we go.
I will get on Final Fantasy XIV mid-show after I turn in aquatic form. I had to go all the way to the fatigue zone for this crap.
So,
You are the walrus.
yeah, so what Yokai Watch is, it's essentially Pokemon except done by lazy people. Like, they wanted to make a Pokemon style game, but I guess they didn't want to come up with new ideas. So essentially they've just cutified a lot of yokai, and that's your lot.
I see.
So it is a cute game series, and I don't mind it as such, even though it's never really sold very well. That's the minion guide. I don't want the minion guide. Mount guide. Here it is. The Whisperer Go. It is the sort of thing you'd expect to find outside a convenience store in the 90s.
I remember those.
I remember those. Parents would never let you play on them. And they always seem to be perpetually broken.
They can't have made much money.
Well, why else would they produce so many of them?
They were everywhere.
But I don't understand how they could make much money, because they're so just not used. Nobody uses them.
Nobody uses them.
Because they don't work most of the time.
I don't know, man.
So something like $2 for 30 seconds of very slow, gentle rocking.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen anybody on one ever in my entire life.
I've seen them used occasionally when parents want to talk to someone and they want to keep their kids quiet for 30 seconds. That's about it. You know, when they're actually working. What else have I really dived into? I did a little bit of fishing grinding, but fishing grinding's very boring to talk about. It's fishing. But I will say that the auction house in this game is kind of a mess. I played Black Desert Online for a good while, not too long ago, and I really do enjoy their auction system where everything kind of falls into a price bracket based on supply and demand. So the system itself regulates prices, not the players as such. Which was good, because then you could put stuff on the auction house and have it actually sell and not be undercut 5 minutes later by some chump who takes off 1 gil.
Yeah, that's a thing. I usually at least try and take off 5, just so that it's not, or 50 or something like that, so it's not completely trivial. And also because the number will be neater.
Yeah, I tend to try and round it down to the nearest 10. I don't know what I'm going to actually do at this point because I can't.
I don't know. I guess it's just that like markets in the real world function because everybody's got skin in the game. If you are selling stuff on the market in the real world, it's your livelihood. So
yes.
you want to make sure that it works and that you don't make the wrong sorts of enemies. But in this game, it is literally optimal to take off 1 gil.
Yes.
And I'm technically stupid for taking off any more than 1 gil.
Yes. Dear. So yeah, it's a good time. What else? I did Saman, which was actually not a very good dungeon. I believe it was called Saman.
Samal.
Samal, yeah, that was one.
The last boss is okay.
The last boss is good.
And technically speaking, the bosses before the last boss are also good when you don't jib them super quickly because everybody's pushing the absolute limits of stats.
Yes. So the Nidhogg fight itself was actually quite good. But
that's an Eri.
Oh, sorry, that is Eri. Samar was Tiamat, which is also quite good.
Tiamat.
Not Tiamat, only 1 head.
Okay.
Tiamat is in the game elsewhere.
Yeah, I've seen Tiamat's name, and Tiamat's a pretty major dragon figure across more than just Final Fantasy. So
it's pretty much every time Dragon Lore pops up, Tiamat will appear in some form or another.
Always the evil one.
Well, debatable in Fate.
Yeah.
Like it's more like Tiamat in Fate does not adhere to the common sense of humanity. Like I doubt Tiamat sees herself as evil or as anything really.
Was it the D&D Tiamat that tends to just leave people alone unless you annoy her?
No, the D&D Tiamat is just is a strictly always chaotic evil monstrosity.
No, okay, so she'll eat your face 5 times.
Yeah, the D&D Tiamat is the reason Tiamat is consistently a bad guy, antagonist, not good person.
Okay, I need to try and find the neutral Tiamat now. Remember which franchise that was in. I'm too many.
If it does exist, it's an outlier.
Yeah. But yes, she was also a summon in previous Final Fantasy games, if I recall.
I don't know. It's like she was a boss on disc 4 of Final Fantasy 8. I know that much.
Yep.
She's just a color swapped Bahamut.
Yeah. Sell my fish, sell my rubbish. So yeah, that's pretty much my week has been adulting and Final Fantasy. I haven't really even watched much anime this week. Though, at least Black Clover still continues to scratch that shonen itch.
Yeah, it's headed in pretty much the traditional shonen direction, I guess. But I'm sort of interested in how much of a jump the shark moment it'll be when they actually resolve the current crisis.
Yeah, well, everything in the story so far has kind of been leading up to the conflict that's happening now, in one form or another.
Yeah.
So once that's resolved, it's going to be okay. Now what?
Yeah, I feel like the current arc has been rather broad, and it's sort of like it's hard to see where it goes from there. Like it's sort of like in Bleach, the whole series lost a huge amount of momentum after Soul Society, and
Yeah.
it never really recovered it. It just ended up in the doldrums over and over again because the only plot thread that carried forward from there were like, oh, now we've got a bigger cast to work with, and there's the one bad guy who got away. Like that's pretty much it. And in the case of Naruto, they had shorter initial arc, given like measured in terms of content, not number of episodes, as Naruto is famous for having half the runtime of an episode be a flashback of the previous episode.
Yes.
But they built the entire first arc around Orochimaru, and then just made him a smaller part of a bigger deal that became an issue later. But and there doesn't seem to be this sort of like room for dangling plot threads in Black Clover, because everything is sort of like this epoch spanning grudge at play.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't really like I don't know. I guess the dangling plot thread will be, oh well, what actually happened to the elves, because I'm pretty sure that story is not going to be as simple as the elves keep portraying it as. Because let's be real, none of them ever saw themselves get betrayed by humans.
Yeah, that's basically everything is just saying, oh, humans betrayed us, therefore we fight.
That seems to be the big fly in the ointment with their story. Really, is that the elves never the elves were attacked and genocided by someone, but they have all guaranteed that it's humans, although none of them appear to have actually seen the humans do it. All they saw was the spell.
It's all them human supremacists, man.
And they seem to this seems to have developed into sort of a unified group thing for their entire race. But nobody has bothered to ask the actual guy at the center of it all, the actual elf at the center of it all, what he thinks. Because as far as I can tell, he's just asleep.
He's having a nap in a giant glowy thing.
And they're having what sounds like, based on the most recent episode, it sounds like the guy who's nominally in charge is like one of the single most sociopathic elves in all existence.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they've just let him lead the charge.
They started showing flashbacks and actually revealing that no, he's not who he says he is. He's kind of this other guy, but he's kind of a whiny little git.
Well, yeah, and his close relative is the lunatic that was in control of Finral's brother.
Yes.
And it seems like the two of them are just notable sociopaths.
And somehow like, in charge.
Even the elves seem to cringe a little bit at the thought of those two. So, yeah.
Yeah. What else did I watch? I went back and just watched the bonus episode of Slime Time again, just for wholesome goodness. Except I'd forgotten one horrible thing in that show. At least that particular episode. They rapidly flip between eye candy and eye pain.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh dear. Although, having the giant wolf in a one-piece swimsuit was kind of funny. So yeah, if you're going to watch one isekai, go watch That Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime. It's great.
Slime Time, Shieldy Boy, only isekais you need from the last 2 years, except maybe Konosuba if you count the second season.
I'm not confident. Yeah. I'm not confident to determine which ones have actually taken place in the last 2 years, because my sense of time appears to be way off.
Yeah, I think Konosuba was 3 years ago now.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Why am I walking? I should take the portals. Yeah, Konosuba, I wouldn't call it good as an isekai, but what it is really funny. And that's all you need sometimes.
So I wouldn't call it good, but I'm not sure what I would call it.
It's
and it's worth your time.
It's certainly
I think it's good. Like I wouldn't I wouldn't have bought all the light novels if I didn't think it was good.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
that said, I do have a couple of light novels of Sword Art Online, which I didn't think was good, and I wanted to see if the novels were better or worse. They're arguably worse, which is impressive in its own way.
Yeah, that's how you undermine your own argument right there. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thing is though, isekai is just everywhere at the moment. And it hasn't gone away over the last, good grief, 5 years now? Ever since Sword Art Online came out.
No, I think we're hitting the end of the arc. Because the ones that have been released in the past couple seasons have been increasingly tired, and the ones slated for the next couple seasons are not. They're not new additions to the formula. They're pretty much the same retreads. So I think that we're starting to burn out. Like we're going to end up on the tail end of this boom.
I really hope so. It's
the question is how many times they try and resuscitate it before they realize that it's dead, Jim.
Yeah,
I thought this same thunk back when around right when Konosuba came out. I'm like, okay, Isekai's dead. This is it. We're at the end, Jim.
Well,
and we weren't at the end, Jim.
Not at the end. But you tend to, every season you get maybe 4 or 5 different isekai shows, and there's at most one worth watching.
Just wait for the inevitable anime season that is dominated by a simul run of Shieldy Boy, Slime Time, and Konosuba Season 3.
Oh, yeah, that would actually be quite good. I'd watch that.
Well, I mean, there is more Konosuba. They can quite easily go forward with that. The story doesn't end.
Shieldy Boy is done to its endpoint already. It's already a finished light novel or web novel.
But you said the web novel is terrible.
It's formatted horribly because it can't be translated real well. Because it's the dialogue is written almost like a play script.
Oh, one of those.
Uh-huh.
The manga adaptation is a lot better, at least.
I mean, if you read,
don't read the light novels for Shieldy Boy, by the way. In case I have not given that warning on the show before. Oh my goodness, some of the worst writing I've ever seen. Whoever did the localization needs to be fired.
I remember the back in around the 2000s, early 2000s, tons and tons of fan fiction authors wrote in script format.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a thing for a bit. I wonder why.
Because it requires way less writing skill.
True.
They didn't know where to put the comma after a quote in a proper sentence. So script format took care of the problem.
TBH, I get it wrong half the time as well.
I deliberately put the comma outside the quotes because I know it's wrong and it ticks people off.
Oh dear. You gotta remember where I gotta hand in these hunting bills now.
Bruh, Air Force One event is up.
Oh dear.
There's a queue to get into Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, going on.
It's probably like 16 people long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just beat the queue boss in another wagon game that I fell off of.
At least you're back onto the right wagon this time. So I'm gonna end my week there and toss over to Vol for a bit.
What am I gonna do?
Hot potato.
Yeah, so 2 things. Neurofest and Final Fantasy. They're pretty much the central investments of my time. Thing with Neurofest is I haven't really dumped a lot of time into it, mainly because I don't like Neurofest very much. If it was just farming, in fact, that might actually be easier. I might actually be able to handle that. The problem is that the challenge quests are brutal. So, yeah. I mean, I did some of them last time. Didn't do all of them. I'm not quite that good, but I've got a much better lineup now. So probably most, if not all of them, are within reach. The issue is the amount of sit down time I've got to go through to come up with a way to do a lot of them when, to be honest, I just don't have the resources that most people do due to my lack of CEs. But yeah, Neurofest is a thing. It's not the most exciting event. It has basically no story content. It's just that time of year when you can do the most effective farming and also the toughest challenge quests. It's very tempting to just not do them, but there's a ticket attached to each one, so it's also very tempting to do them. I'll have to set aside some time and see what I'm willing to commit to, because those fights, a lot of them just take a long time. It's as simple as that. They're not easy. That's why they're challenge quests.
Would you rather spend $30, or would you rather grind them out?
That's the thing. That's the thing, right? That's where they're trying to put you. Because the amount of time I take to actually do them will be, significantly more than the wage for investing that amount of time. Like Parade of Hassan's, like I don't know if I want to be subject to that nightmare again. It took long enough the first time, and the thing is that the optimal team is not. It's not rare servants or anything the way it is for some things. It's just, well, the optimal team is things like Arisville and Medea and that kind of thing. So the ideal strategy actually ends up being to sit there for like an hour doing the fight. And there are they're challenge quests, so that's what you're supposed to be. They're supposed to be challenging. They're supposed to be difficult. They're supposed to bake your noodle coming up with a strategy and then stress you out while you try and keep your brain in the right lane while you're executing on it. But yeah, I don't like NeroQuest. I'm really not looking forward to it. It's just I don't like challenge quests in general because, well, I like some of them. I don't like lots at once. I don't mind if there's one and it's just brutally hard and I have to sit down and figure it out. But there's like 20. And I don't like it. I didn't even like it when it was like 10, like the last event. But now it's just like all of last year's and all of this year's, and they're all incredibly monstrous.
That sounds pointlessly brutal.
I suppose the discriminating factor is that I think, I could be wrong about this. I think last time there was no Merlins, were there? Like, was Merlin a thing for last NeroFest?
No, Merlin came out in December.
Yeah, so Merlin will allow, I'm hoping, will allow me to break a lot of challenges, because I just don't want to do them again. It was hard enough last time. I don't remember how I did them, and it's going to take me a long time to work it out again. So hopefully I'll just be able to brute force my way through by spamming Merlin bullcrap on challenges. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. I haven't invested a lot of time in it, though, simply because I don't have a lot of time to invest, but I think that the approach that I will take will be to queue for something in Final Fantasy and then spam farming quests in FGO while I wait for the queue to pop. That's going to be my approach, I think. It's the only way to get through both of them. So, Final Fantasy.
Also, Fern, check your Discord DMs.
Oh, right, yeah. I need more screens. 2 is insufficient.
So, I hit 60 on Red Mage, and I think I kind of like the class. Not because the mechanics are, like, remarkable. The mechanic is actually very, very simple. And it's easy to make a mistake on if you aren't paying attention and get yourself into difficulties. But generally speaking, it's relatively simple, though there are some subtleties to it. But most importantly, you look cool doing it. That's true of most of the jobs in Final Fantasy, but the Red Mage is all sort of about, you're supposed to be flamboyant. That's the whole point.
Yes.
So, you cast your spells and then you dash in and you do the fencing thing on them, and then you flip out and then you accidentally flip through the barrier, and then the boss room shuts in front of you because you flipped too soon and everything is terrible forever and you feel deep shame. Yeah. I've hit 60. I did that primarily through dungeons, and I had a few main scenario quests. I actually quite like that. It's very relaxing when you're tired at the end of the day, but you still want to do some character progress and you want to do a dungeon. You just queue for the main scenario quest, because half the time you'll be able to relax and watch the cutscene or do something on your other monitor or whatever. So, yeah. Generally speaking, that's a good time. Provided you haven't done it 5 bajillion times. So, presumably there are people who are really mad about it, but are doing it because they want the tomestones. But I did a bunch of the dungeons on the way up to try and reacquaint myself with them, since I'll probably be passing through them again on other character classes. So, yeah, I did the set up to 60, except I did not do Great Google Library because I shot straight past that somehow. A combination of class quests and main story scenario dungeons pushed me past Great Google Library, which is sort of disappointing since Great Google Library is actually really, really cool. It's just that as happens every time, you end up doing it once for the story and never again.
Yeah.
Because it's the level 59 dungeon. So the gear is all inferior to everything at level 60. And the sort of the gap in which it's applicable is very narrow. So yeah, I don't know. I'll probably go with Fern when he does it, as if he hasn't done it already.
Not sure, no.
When he goes for his storyline trip, because it's cool and I want to go and see it again. But I just don't have a reason to go there deliberately. But yeah, so I spent some tomestones doing my left-hand side gear up. Right-hand side gear is still a bit soggy. Not really much to be done about that. And I'm in the doldrums that you keep hitting nowadays, where you've done your quests from the storyline. So you hit level 60. The first dungeon for Stormblood is level 61. And you're sort of wondering, how am I going to get there? Because the gear is not great in the level 60 dungeons. It's not terrible, but it's not really great either. It's not really a patch on what you're going to have when you start doing the dungeons for Stormblood. So you sort of feel like you're wasting your time a little bit. But I'm going to have no choice. I have to stick my face into Xelphatol on that. And I don't even like Xelphatol. Xelphatol's horrible.
You should come duel with us with our mounts in Horizon as we are shooting at each other.
We are
Live on
accomplishing
camera.
exactly nothing here.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't particularly like the idea of doing Xelphatol because I guess I didn't do Xelphatol very much before. It's just I have a funny feeling I'm going to draw it, and I don't want to draw it. At least I didn't have to do Neverreap. I skipped straight past Neverreap.
My experience with the roulettes is if there's something you definitely do not want to do, that's what you're going to draw every time.
Yeah, that tends to be the case. But the ones that are most applicable to me, I think, are probably Van Balsar's War and Som Al Hard. But I don't remember anything about them because I only did them once each. So at least they're worth a good chunk of tomestones. So it's not a total waste. But I'm sort of annoyed that I have to do it just so that I can push myself over the bump into the Stormblood content. But, I'm fine to do whatever with Fern and Ari once they sort of start progressing again and stop, mucking about.
We're
Doing
muck
things like clucking at chickens and, that type of thing.
We are being the exact opposite of productive right now, if it makes you feel better. I am chasing Fern around in Maggie-chan, shooting him with absolutely everything I can while he's in his trying to shoot back at me.
Yeah. I'm not really in a hurry to progress. Like, I might suspend a little bit and play another class waiting for the others to catch up, or I might just push through up to the end of Stormblood or something. I don't know. There's a lot of story content ahead for both Fern and Ari. What is the last dungeon you did, Fern, in the story?
Well, I'm up to Bismarck now.
Right. Yeah, so Bismarck's actually not all that far through the story, is it? So
no.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how far after level 60 the story will progress.
Quite far, because they have to set up a bunch of stuff for. First of all, they set up a bunch of stuff for Shadowbringers.
Yes.
And then they put that on the back burner, and then they set up a bunch of stuff for Stormblood.
Ah, right. Okay.
So yeah, like Xelphatol, for instance, is part of the foreshadowing for Stormbringers. For Shadowbringers, and Stormblood's foreshadowed by pretty much everything after that point. All those dungeons that are involved in the story, like Van Balsar's Wall and that. Van Balsar's Wall being the grand finale of that particular plot line involving the Griffin. The Griffin.
Fancy chicken.
What was it you said? You said something about griffins just being a fancy type of duck.
Yeah,
I can't remember why you said that though.
I made a typo in Discord and called it the Duck Vigil instead of Dusk Vigil.
Right.
So yeah, a griffin is just a fancy duck.
Right.
This-
Anyway, so I'm having a good time in Final Fantasy, and I've always had a good time in Final Fantasy. I usually quit because not because I get bored, but because I'm busy with something else. Because I find that it's a very fun game to spend unproductive time in, as well as productive time. So, yeah. I don't know. We don't know what I'm going to do while waiting for these guys, since they keep getting distracted. Though
Shiny
that's the thing.
things.
Yeah, there's a
He is-
ton of other games coming out, and there's Monster Hunter coming out, and I don't know
Next
what I'm going
week.
to do.
Get
I
high.
Yeah,
just want to. I just want to point out that when Fern said shiny things, he was literally looking at a jewel crafter's like table of jewels while he said that.
Yeah, very
Chasing
shiny.
him around.
More the point,
while he's doing the show.
this guy actually sells the Emperor's set for glamoring. So, if you want to be naked, this is the guy you talk to.
Ah, I see.
You
Right.
might not have it. You might have to unlock it first.
Gotta unlock it first, yeah.
Yeah. At any rate, there's so much stuff coming out. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I really, 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 really want to play Monster Hunter, but I also want to play Final Fantasy. But there's Neurofest, and there's a bunch of other JRPGs that are coming out around now that I want to play, and I don't have time. Everything is terrible. Being an adult sucks.
Yes,
Why
it
do we got to
does.
do it, man?
I know we're standing around complaining about being adults, but now all three of us are just doing this.
Yeah.
This is the
This is
most
what it's all
productive
about,
use of our time.
this is what MMOs are all about. This sort of
Faffing
crap.
around.
Yeah, pretty much. You don't know how to faff around. You don't know how to play a game.
That's
So
true.
you're supposed to faff around.
All right.
Anyway,
Seeing as though we've actually got a fair bit of news this week, you want to just jump straight into
Do
your
we?
week, Ari? Yeah. Compared to how we've been over the last few weeks. Yeah, just keep the Final Fantasy ball rolling.
Yeah, I guess there's not a whole lot to my week. Earlier in the week, I had a bit of free time, played some Final Fantasy 14 mostly during my big chunk, and got up to level 50. What level am I? 54,
Yes.
and finished the original patch of the original bunch of quests. And I ended just a little bit after Good King Mogamog
That
in Final
fight.
Fantasy 14. I don't know what happened exactly in that fight. It just all of a sudden it was down to me, a healer, and 2 other DPS, and we killed it. And I'm not sure what happened. All the little Moogles were dead when everybody died.
now
It's-
imagine doing it gear appropriate.
Yeah, that was fun. That
So, I mean,
fight
while
has
you do
so
get
much-
synced down in item level, the fact is that when you get synced down in item level, that basically makes everybody optimal for the best that they could possibly humanly have been at the time that it was current.
Yes.
So it's like
Yeah.
having it on farm level of power everybody's got. Now imagine doing it when that gear was still like an upgrade.
Yeah.
And nobody had done it 5 billion times in the past. Like it was not normal great.
And it's
Good
not
King
exactly
Mogulog was
a simple fight
rough.
either. It's very complicated.
And then somebody will invariably put their pet somewhere it's not supposed to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a whole lot of stuff in that fight, and there were a whole lot of mini Moogles, and I'm not entirely sure what exactly was happening. But
I think that that's
yeah.
the normal response to Thornmarch, is that you come out of it not really knowing what happened, regardless of the level of success that you had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, that copyright
Yeah.
infringement soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm still wondering how they got away with that. Like, doesn't Disney own that?
It is, but I think it's this Mogulmog's theme is just different enough from the Nightmare Before Christmas theme that it slips under the radar.
Oh, I thought something sounded familiar in there.
There you go. See?
It doesn't seem like enough of a. Like, it doesn't. It seems like they're too similar for that to be the case to me. Anyway,
Yeah,
it
they're
seems,
extremely
and it's
similar.
such a prominent case that it seems like there must be something there. Like there must be I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. Really, it seems strange to me.
Yeah.
It's like the Budokai 3 thing that happened where the guy sampled too many other songs in some of his tracks and they had to completely remove them for the re-release.
Yeah, it could have been just slipping under the radar. It could be maybe some side effect of the Kingdom Hearts franchise. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, maybe they do have the license because Squeenix worked on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas was a world in Kingdom Hearts 2 or 1 or
and
both.
2.
Yeah.
Now I am going to try and finish this.
So, where was I with it? Oh, right. So Monday, I could have progressed the main story and probably made quite a bit of progress because I had a lot of time that day. But Sunday and Monday turned into Hildebrand Day.
Yeah. This is the wrong place. Why am I here?
And Nashu is the best thing ever of all time in the Hildebrand quest.
She's the only person who can't see Hildebrand for the idiot he is.
It's wonderful. I like that the part that gives Nashu away is that she reacts to having her wrinkles criticized. It's like, you're the imposter. The real Nashu would praise Hildebrand for this.
Oh dear.
Oh, the third episode of Hildebrand was fairly dry for the first half of it, and then we got to Inspector Briar or whatever, and let's go stand by the coconuts. Nothing bad will happen at all. And somehow it ends up with Hildebrand balancing a torch on his head. And that from that point onward, that was the best episode of all the Hildebrand storyline.
Oh, it gets worse. You haven't found the wedding yet, I take it.
Oh no, I finished the initial 1.0 Hildebrand story.
Oh, okay.
Or 1.0 up to Heaven's Word or whatever's next.
Okay, you haven't.
So you met you met the family, and you met Greg.
Yeah, I met Greg. I fought Greg. Had to wait in the duty finder forever to fight Greg a second time.
Yeah.
The Ultros fight was the most interesting of the fights I've done so far in large man content.
Dumb fight.
It's bizarre, and there's so many things that can go wrong because almost nobody can remember how it works.
So, one of the healers asks as I queue up, because I can only queue as a tank right now because it's the only class I got leveled. And the other tank didn't feel comfortable tanking Ultros because he had never done it before. And I just watched a video on it, so I'm like, okay, it doesn't look that bad. I'll do it. And the healer's like, I guess they noticed the little sproutling next to my name, and they go, have you done this before? I'm like, I saw a video right before I queued, and their response was just, oh boy, in text.
Well, can you imagine what happens in that fight when somebody does that wrong, though?
Yeah.
That fight snowballs in a bad direction very quickly if somebody does something wrong.
I've healed it before.
Yeah, so I managed to finagle my way through it. And so I got my mini Hildebrand somewhere around here. There he is.
Incidentally, if you go and play the Minion minigame at the Gold Saucer, Wind Up Hildebrand is just about all you need. He's ridiculously powerful.
So I got my Wind Up Gentleman, and he can follow me around now, and I got all the emotes for the quest. The only part of it that took some actual thought was the Ultras fight, but I really enjoyed all the Hildebrand quests. I thought the story for the fourth part didn't get very many laughs out of me.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one in the Coliseum.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, if you just say the fourth part, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was the one almost exclusively in the Coliseum, and I didn't get very many laughs from it. I felt like they tried to play a little too much drama in it in a side quest series that's so far been about comedy the whole way through for the rest of it.
Yeah.
Well, you generally speaking, you need a little bit of drama in order to propel a story. So, the idea being that you're going to need to have some point to what you're doing at some point. So
yeah, so the point of the story turns out to be that all of Ul'dah is going to be turned into zombies if Hildebrand doesn't stop it. But because Hildebrand has already kind of sort of not really been a zombie, he is able to control the zombies and save the day at the end.
With dapperness.
They don't really ever explain exactly how it is that Hildebrand can become a zombie and then no longer be a zombie and then still be able to control zombies.
He just kind of does.
I guess that that zombies just have a natural affinity for being gentlemanly or something.
Apparently.
I think it's just a Hildebrand thing. He is a Mandalore man. Maybe it's a Mandalore man thing.
Mandeville.
Mandeville man.
Yeah,
Why
Mandalore
did I-
is Star Wars.
That's I'm crossing my RPG universe now.
So
I still have a fond place in my heart for the cinematic with the infamous Godbit suplex.
yeah.
I like the every single scene that involves Godbit. The characters involved in the chase sequence will just go from a standstill, and then they'll take off with a trail of dust behind them. Whether it's Ultras or Hildebrand or whoever else is getting chased by Godbit, they always start from a standstill, realize what's behind them, and then just a dust cloud behind them, and Godbit will always catch them.
Yep.
The thing with Godbit is that if you pay attention to the quests, like sometimes people don't do the quest hubs or they miss a quest or whatever. You've actually met Godbit before in the main story.
Have you?
Yes, he's in the therapeutic pools at Bronze Lake. And
right, that quest.
You have to oil him up.
And he gets enthusiastic. It's a very, very disturbing quest.
It's meant to be very disturbing. That's the whole point. But that's actually Godbit Mandeville.
Good old Godbit. Yeah, I didn't understand the Godbit jokes and the fact that there was a giant statue of Godbit in the Golden Saucer. I didn't get it until the Hildebrand quests, and I think I get it now. I think I understand. I think I understand.
The Heavensward Godbit, the Heavensward Hildebrand quests, they are much more low key. There's no fighting involved in them. It's a mini story. It's nowhere near the sort of level of production of the first one, which is unfortunate. But I haven't done any of the Stormblood ones, so I don't know what the Stormblood ones are like. But there's still a story in there. But they once more they bring in another straight man to be driven completely mad by Hildebrand.
Yeah.
But
you'd think the Warrior of Light would actually fill that role, but for the most part, the Warrior of Light either just kind of goes with things or gets caught up in the stupidity.
I think, generally speaking, the Warrior of Light is entirely complicit with the madness.
They are effectively the camera for what's going on, and little more in the storyline. We are the gopher and not anything else in that story.
And
well, it's basically you're supposed to pretty much just be entertained. It's not really about anything particular that you might have available to you to influence the situation. You're there to occasionally hit things with your sword and to laugh, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
And be thoroughly, thoroughly confused.
So, yeah. We were on my week before Hildebrand distracted us, as he does. And he distracted me and stopped me from making any progress in the main story quest after I decided Hildebrand time was now. So yeah, I tunnel visioned on his quest because y'all talk about it so much, and I genuinely liked most of it. The only part I really was not so super hot on was the Colosseum bit, but the rest of it was all really good. I did like it quite a bit.
But the Colosseum, you meet his mum.
She's in part 5. She didn't show up in part 4.
She is a force of nature, that woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we know who wears the metaphorical and not literal because she has a skirt, but metaphorical pants in that relationship.
Well, I mean, it's not like Godbit's wearing any pants either.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I thought about it as I said it, and I'm like, well, the skirt probably counts as more pants than Godbit wears.
It's worrying, actually. You see him at some formal occasions during certain events, and he's got formal underpants. It's just, why? Why is Godbit?
I like, and during his introductory scene, he's like, I fixed it and made it better. This vase of yours that you broke. And Hildebrand's like, you ruined it. And you take it back to the lady. Maybe she'll like it anyway. And she's like, this is hideous. And Godbit walks in. It's like, oh, Godbit made it. Okay. Never mind. This is a great piece of artistry. We should totally, this is way better than what I thought I was getting.
Yeah. I'm just really love the whole Hildebrand quest line. It's just the developers are told more or less just go nuts and write something completely stupid.
it did not take long for the Hildebrand quest to win me over from nothing. At the point in the first quest where you see Hildebrand's facial expression as Nashu is curing his amnesia with a bomb. You
Doing
see
the
his,
thing.
That's the
his
thing.
yeah. When Nashu is doing the thing, you see his face, as it does many times in the story, get pushed to what I imagine this graphical engine's limit is with facial expressions, and then some. With just some of the ridiculous faces he can make.
Yeah, the facial expressions really help. That sort of like shades of Gary's mod in there.
It kind of runs against that line, doesn't it?
Yeah, it clearly breaks the model and the skeletal structure of the model every time he does it, but I love it.
I have posted in the live show chat 3 screen caps of the Heavensward Hildebrand quest that are entirely spoiler free. The character depicted is the straight man who accompanies you throughout those quests.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, no, that's not bollocks. That was the greatest lines ever said.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Visual joke, folks.
Yep, so very visual heavy this show. Because where'd Vern go? We were shooting him and he disappeared.
I'm disappeared trying to do this hunting
He's trying
file.
he's trying to complete a hunt, so we're not trying to accomplish anything.
Yeah, we're
Except I
running around the.
can't find these stupid dinosaurs unless they're on a stupid floating island.
Yeah, we're literally doing laps while we're talking about the weeks. So yeah,
Riding around in Ari's beloved Maggie-chan.
Yeah, Maggie-chan. So I went out of my way to do the quest to give her guns.
Oh dear.
That's the only other major quest that I did. So Maggie-chan is the robot you get, and I was ecstatic when our little Robotech Reaper survived and came back in the last dungeon. As it was the only bits of the later story I was paying attention to until I went back and rewatched it all. And the only reason I did is because you have to do a /welcome gesture to the robot that has, up until that point, displayed no signs of sentience or life. And this has just made me attached to this stupid little robot that you ride around in. And then you get to keep the robot as a permanent mount once you beat the main story quests. And then you can do another quest to unlock the guns on it and the bomb on it. And this doesn't do anything. You can't hit anything with these special attacks it can do.
And Heavensward, you can learn to fly in it as well, just FYI.
Oh, good. So Maggie-chan gets those wings aren't just for show.
It kind of just sticks the wings out and tucks his legs up, and off it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the little robot has endeared itself to me quite a bit with the story, and so now Maggie is with me, riding around in a circle as we shoot the poor passersby that come into this town and wonder what the hell we're doing. So. Yeah, that's been Final Fantasy XIV pretty much. I did not have a whole lot of free time after that, but in the free time I did have, it was during normal daytime hours for North American people, not my usual late time shenanigans with these two. So this involved me sitting around with people that are awake at sane hours for most normal working adults, and they're all playing WoW Classic.
Yeah.
And I thought I made a mistake. I overestimated my ability to resist peer pressure, having gone out of my way to put up shields for it in the past. But I had them down, probably because I just poked at Final Fantasy XIV again. And I had my MMO shields down. I lasted a day and a half of people pestering me about WoW Classic before I finally caved.
That wasn't very long at all.
No. So I did not take note that playing Final Fantasy XIV would lower my shields. I completely forgot that WoW Classic was a thing that was happening. So I got roped back into that. It's WoW Classic. There are a lot of things to talk about with WoW Classic and the way things have been going with it. The first thing is it is hilarious being old and watching all these young kids try to experience Classic and seeing them talk about it in general chat. And it's like these kids have never had to type with a keyboard before. They don't understand community at all, and all the old farts like us are sitting around just talking like it's normal and are able to get back in the swing of things real easy like.
Here's something that's going to make you feel old. Half of those kids probably weren't even born when the game came out.
No. Bad firm.
Everything.
So yeah. It's been a really interesting experience going around. I managed to dodge the day one blob, which I'm glad I did, because from the screenshots Abo has sent me, there were literal lines forming for quest mobs that were bottlenecks in starting zones.
Wow.
Like, there's one troll you got to kill in the cave in the dark starting zone.
Yep.
There was people formed an orderly line going out the cave, all the way out the cave, and well into the road outside of it, up into the main road.
Oh,
and people were just grouping together with the people next to them to kill this one mob that was bottlenecking everybody. So yeah, and
that was before the days where a bottleneck mob would have an increased spawn rate.
Yeah. So this is a thing. The only complaint I've seen in the time I've been poking at it has been one elite Murloc for a wanted quest in like Darkshore before I went to Westfall. Because Darkshore is awful.
Yes.
There was one dude who was sitting in the area and a couple other dudes waiting on it to respawn. So I got there. I'm like, y'all doing this quest? And I invited them all. And like 3 minutes of waiting on this thing to respawn, the guy just starts complaining about how long it takes for the mob to respawn. I'm like, wow, you people are babies.
We remember back in my day, we'd wait 15 minutes at a time for a mob to respawn.
You know, like this is after the first patch that nerfed respawn timers, and you're complaining now? Like, you should have been here back in vanilla. That was like 15, 30 minutes for this guy to come back.
Now coming up from Blizzard, vanilla.
Yeah. vanilla. So yeah, it's been an interesting experience. In general, I've gone to the specific Reddit for WoW Classic, and it has become one of my new favorite Reddits to read because it's just a whole bunch of people that didn't play in vanilla talking about how great it is and how they're never going back to retail ever again, and just dumping all over retail WoW.
But can you be a bit more specific? Like, because I'm interested to know how people who didn't play during Classic, what specifically they feel about particular things.
A lot of the stuff we talked about, the big one being communication and community, that we've mentioned ad nauseum on the show. Mm-hmm. These two things are aspects of the game that don't exist in modern WoW. But the fact that you can go onto a server and people are already building their individual reputations on their server is totally foreign to them. They're not just some anonymous blob in the WoW totality thrown into a server group. They're on their server and as an individual, and they feel attached to this identity they're building because their character takes so much work to level up in the first place.
Yeah, that sort of atomization that took place in World of Warcraft is probably the single most corrosive thing to the experience.
Yeah,
every man became an island. I mean, you could posit an argument that the same thing applies in real life to a certain extent. Like, people have become more atomized and less community focused, and that's basically caused a sort of a disintegration of culture in the real world as well. And you can see it in miniature in World of Warcraft as people become more and more insular. The systems that made WoW worth playing broke down and ceased to exist.
Yeah,
because humans are social creatures that you're supposed to work together.
The good days where you could talk to someone on the forums across faction, and then you'd run into them in Warsong Gulch, and a dance party would ensue.
Less that, and more like, oh, that's the rogue that ninja looted Cruel Barb off of Van Cleef or something. And everybody in Westfall chat ostracizing him, and him complaining that there's actual consequences to his actions, which is a thing I saw happen in general chat in Westfall.
Yes, actual consequences were a thing.
Like that kind of thing is what's really catching people off guard. The fact that they have to communicate in dungeons and even in the world just to do quests is. The people that remember vanilla WoW seem to love it, and the people that are new to WoW either love it or don't know what to make of it at all.
Well, they've they've got the sort of the dual disadvantage. Number one, they weren't raised in that particular WoW, and like I said about the real world, they weren't raised in that particular real world either. The people
is the real
who are
world's
new to
LFG
it,
system.
yeah, they live on social media where you present yourself only to the extent and particular fashion that you want, and basically live in a completely atomized way where, you know, if you don't like someone, that they can cease to exist for you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, like,
Yeah.
if you want to go on the forums, like Tendris on our server back in the day on Bartholus did, and basically be a tool to everybody who comes along and basically behave in a cringy and obnoxious fashion to everybody, or to all comers, well, funnily enough, that results in you getting ganked and camped every time you try and play in the evening.
Every server
Yeah.
has someone like that. Except, well, actually, Bartholus was made of people like that.
Yeah, Bartholus was not bad simply by merit of the fact that Frostmourne also existed.
Yeah, Frostmourne.
Like Bartholus was the less bad Frostmourne. It was like Frostmourne with the rough edges filed off, and it was still vicious.
Yeah. So it has been an interesting experience, and like for those of us that played vanilla, it's like, oh yeah, I got to go do a quest to learn how to cure poison on my druid. For other people, it's either them talking about how awesome it is to have to go swim out in the fatigue zone to get their aquatic form, or people
Oh, that was a
complaining
thing,
about it
that's right.
nonstop. Yeah, I did that quest on my druid right before I logged into Final Fantasy 14.
How about the Shaman,
Well-
where you have to go on a world tour to get your totems?
Yeah,
Well, the thing is that while World of Warcraft was always in the, how they say, theme park style,
Mhm.
in its original conception, World of Warcraft was originally still designed to challenge you. Like, the theme park was full of like booths, like shooting galleries, where you still had to be able to shoot straight.
Yep.
yeah.
In modern WoW, they're just rides. You get on them and they take you through to their conclusion. Everything is provided for along the way. The track is perfectly set, and there's no way that you can hurt yourself or fall off or anything like that. It's they're both theme park events, but one requires you to invest yourself personally, and the other one does all the work for you. And the latter is the modern WoW experience.
I'm not even sure I'd take the comparison that far, having poked at the little bit I poked at, just because of how cross-world all the quests will send you, even in the starting zones. Like once you bust out of your level 12 zone and you're in the main world, you pick up quests to go to Westfall and Redridge from Darkshore to go do who knows whatever.
Oh
all
yeah,
over the
yeah, my
place.
first character was a warlock, and you've got to learn to summon those demons.
Oh, you
Yeah,
got
yeah.
earn your demons.
And then
Like,
you got to go to the wetlands
Yeah, you gotta
as
you
a
gotta
horde
do-
warlock.
You gotta do the Great Wetlands trek if you're a Night Elf Druid. You gotta go through there, and you
So-
gotta.
You know, at least the
survive.
wetlands is Alliance territory if you're a Night Elf Druid. If you're a
I'm here-
horde warlock, you've got to
I'm here-
go all the way through Hillsbrad, all the way across Arathi Highlands when it's too high a level for you, then down through wetlands where everybody is your
Torch running.
enemy.
Yeah, I'm here to tell you though, them oozes and them crocodiles don't care what faction you're on. If you're, they are level 25 and you are level 16.
Yep. Enjoy.
Yep, and the Blackrock orcs on the way at the interim points don't care either. So yes, everybody's got these cross realm zone quests, and I saw some people on the Reddit. They seem to be really enthralled by it, and they seem to be really happy. In general chat, it's a mixed bag. It depends on what time of day you log on. So that's been a thing I've noticed. Some people really enjoy this cross country style and are already talking in general chat how much it makes the world feel more like a world again, because you actually have to go explore it and do stuff.
Well, it's
And
also big because you don't move at lightning speed from level
Ye-
1.
More the point,
Yeah,
you
you
walk
don't-
around the world actually looking at the world and not just sticking your face in the minimap and following
Well,
the
because
arrow.
you have to, because you're going to be there a while.
Yeah,
Like you don't just get your mount when you hit the right level. You've got to save up for that.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Unless
that's
you're a
a,
warlock. Like
that's a
me.
thing that's been going around too. Like, unless you're a warlock or a paladin, you're there's no way in heck the level I'm playing right now that I'll ever have enough money for a regular mount until if I
Which-
maybe hit max level.
Which reminds me, something everyone really should experience is the Warlock Epic Mount quest.
Yeah,
that
Oh, the
is
Dread
an
Seed?
undertaking.
that's an ordeal and a half.
I was always there
Bell,
for the
Book, and
final
Candle.
boss,
Yep.
but I never. I always helped fight the boss in Dire Maul, but I never played a warlock long enough to do the whole quest line.
Yeah, I did it. It was rough.
It
It was
actually
tough.
it actually adds a boss to Dire Maul. That's how
It
in
was-
depth this
it-
quest
Yeah.
is.
It was cheaper than saving up the conventional way. However,
It was
Not
still
by
like
much.
400, wasn't it?
it was still expensive, and you had to find somebody willing to embark on that hell trip with you.
Yep.
Yeah, and the boss. I never wiped on the boss in Dire Maul, but I helped a lot of warlocks do it. If you died to that boss, did the warlock have to go buy all the mats again?
Yep.
I don't remember exactly, but
That would have been a disaster.
Uh,
I don't think the boss was that hard, but it was a big Dreadsteed and like another dude that showed up or something
Yeah, it
in
was
the
a-
middle of
something like
Dire Maul
that, yeah.
I
North.
think like his Dreadlord owner or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
had like the Void Terror with like the dog looking thing with tentacles coming out of its back.
Yeah,
Yeah, helped a lot of warlocks do that, but never did it myself.
Yeah, that's okay.
Uh,
I had to return the favor and help a hunter cheat at his epic bow quest.
Oh yeah, helped a few hunters with that too. When the ones where they could get help.
Yeah, it was
Which was
more
not
or
many
less
of them.
Engage in a duel, wait for the monster that they had to fight to come along, and then put Curse of
Weakness.
weakness, one of them anyway, to make them immune to fear.
Yeah, it was one of them that you had
Curse of
to.
Recklessness.
That was
That
the
one.
So yeah, that was good times.
Oh man, but yeah, it's been an interesting experience. In general, people have been very friendly and happy to help. Like this new thing called communication has just opened their eyes to the world of and the potential that human beings have when they come together as a group of individuals instead of a soulless cog in a machine. Like all of a sudden they realize they've realized their reputation as an individual matters and that they need to start building their rep as a good person. They can't just be douche canoes. It's a wonderful how nice everybody is. Like I was talking on this before the show started. I was on the boat back to from Menethil to Aberdeen, and this warlock just sacrificed a great many number of soul stones to hand a hellstone to everybody on the boat, and saved my life. And
What-
only
the-
I on that boat knew the sacrifice that warlock made for everybody on that boat.
The thing is that was actually like it's a big deal here in
Yeah.
vanilla. That's practically a second chance at life if you've got one of those things on you.
Yeah, I pulled 2 bears doing my cure poison quest, and that hellstone saved my life. And only I know the sacrifice that poor warlock had to make, because
Yeah.
everybody else on that boat does not realize how big of a pain in the butt it is to farm them soul shards at that low level.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if I recall, the drained soul spell only ticks once every 5 seconds. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
you or your pet has to get the killing blow while it's channeling. Yeah. So yeah, WoW
has
Classic
it always
has
been while it's channeling, or was it there a point where it was actually killing blow?
No,
I do not-
I can't remember
I
if it was
don't
killing
think-
blow, but definitely while channeling for the most part.
Yeah, I don't think. I know the warlock had to get the killing blow at some point, but I don't think it had to be like drained soul that got the killing blow. I just think the warlock or its pet had to be the thing that killed it. I don't think that's the case in current patch vanilla. I think it's moved on to you just need to be channeling, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Although it must be while channeling, because if it was not while channeling, dots would be troublesome.
Yeah.
And considering warlocks pretty much all lean on dots, no matter what spec you are in that that stage of the game, yeah, it's probably yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I summoned the imp a lot.
Yeah.
I
So
only think you can summon without having to farm those damn things.
I remember every warlock in my raid groups was always destruction, so they were always demo sack warlocks.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, good.
so yeah,
times.
that's WoW Classic. I'm only level 17. I have not had much time to play. My experience with WoW Classic has been log on, fight the Q boss for an hour, and then play for an hour, and then log off.
Level 17 is like 25 minutes play in new World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it took about 3 hours of active playtime to hit that. And I knew where I was going. Like, I didn't need no quest helpers or anything to know the quest up to level 17. But I'm approaching the end of the point that I know super duper well from memory from because that's about the point where all your alts would peter off. Is right at Deadmine's level.
None of this having like a max level character of every class. That didn't happen.
No, you would get
you lived in the game.
You would get like right past Wailing Caverns for Horde or right past Deadmines for Alliance, and then you're like, oh, I gotta go back to Tanaris when I eventually get to 40 again. Oh, I don't want to go through No, I'm not going through Desolus again.
I don't think I ever actually leveled in Tanaris in vanilla.
I did.
I avoided it like the plague. I would prefer Desolus.
I went to Tanaris so much and did Zul'Farrak so much. I got the legendary sword for combining both halves of the drops.
I did Zul'Farrak a lot as well, but for me, Tanaris was a very narrow strip of desert that extended between Gadget Zan and Zul'Farrak. that top 1/6 of the map was the entirety of Tanaris to me.
Did you ever go to Jinta Allure and get the stupid mallet? You ran Zul'Farrak so much.
Eventually, yes. Eventually.
I ran that dang dungeon so much. At level, I was trying to get... I just wound up doing it so much because I hated all the leveling zones around it. So I went to Jinta Allure at like level 40 and got the stupid hammer and got some guildies to help me clear it out. Man.
Indulges.
Who's going to get the Uber's key?
I never got the Uber's key. How come it's always a hunter that had the Uber's key?
Because they need the gear.
Like, a serious question. A serious question. LFM, one more Ubers must have key. You sit there for an hour and it's always a hunter that has it.
Because the key
it's the only way they're going to get into a group. I think I made the key in the end. I think I did. But I'm not 100% sure.
If I stick with Classic, the first thing I'm doing at max level is getting the Uber's key.
Well, I mean, that's the way to get into groups there.
Yeah, like...
The other way to get into groups is to know anything about what you're supposed to do in Blackrock Depths.
I know my way around Blackrock Depths like the back of my hand.
I still get lost, like, every 5 minutes. Like, that's a nightmare. Finding my way to where I'm supposed to go in Sunken Temple is a trice compared to finding myself to any given location in Blackrock Depths.
Yeah, just give me my first time back to bumble my way around a bit to remember the hallways and corridors and how they link up, and I'm 100% confident that whole dungeon will snap back in for every subsequent run.
Well, the thing you've got to keep in mind is that everybody has been using shortcuts for the last however many years.
Oh, goodness. Dungeon. So they don't...
Because you just go to the Grim Guzzler, it's already unlocked, you teleport straight to where you need to be, jump off the cliff, and you're at the boss to kill for the end of the instance.
Oh, goodness. My cartography skills may be more handy than I thought. Yeah, because when I think of Blackrock Depths, I think of like, you go there, you're either doing the Windsor quest, or you're going through the jail, and you'll fight your way up through the arena, and you'll go that way to the Grim Guzzler, or you'll take the shortcut, and you'll go around, you'll skip the Golem boss off in that hallway to the far left that nobody goes down unless they got the quest to go over there. And then you'll go from there to the first general boss, Little General Darf, I forget his name, Anvilmar or something. And then you fight your way to the Golem Lord, and then you fight your way to the Grim Guzzler, and then you fight your way down to the Fire Elemental dude, and you make your way to the Salamander, and then you fight your way through the Lyceum and the last boss, and the little Molten Giant and the last boss.
You see, the thing is that it's now segmented automatically by the group finder.
Oh, right.
So you basically port to the relevant location and kill 2 bosses and that's it, sort of thing.
Oh.
So only like 1/3 of the time will you even be passing through the Lyceum.
Oh.
So nobody knows the whole layout these days. They know the shortest possible route to the relevant bosses for whichever queue they got.
Oh, dear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
most people don't know how it actually connects up, so yeah.
It's okay, dudes. If you happen to be playing on the NatPegal server and I manage to stick with this, I will guide you swiftly and verily through the Blackrock depths that I will actually probably never get to because I doubt I'll hit max level.
So what raid content have they got open at launch?
Just Molten Core and I think Onyxia.
Yeah, I think it took, from what I saw, it took like 4 days for the first max level, which, I mean, that's fast, but that's still really slow by modern standards.
Yeah, somebody killed Rag, finally.
Oh, did they?
Already. Yeah.
How many people did they bring for it?
I don't know. It was a fire res cheese strat though. I forget how they stacked it, but yeah, some guild planned it out ahead of time and no lifed it. They got it today.
Why?
There's
Why
always
would you do
someone
it
who
that
does
way?
that sort of thing.
I mean, I guess there's a certain amount of kudos in it, but yeah, I don't know. I suppose the question will be, will Blizzard maintain it, or will they be spiteful? Because there's a certain amount of maintenance that you can do while maintaining the classic thing. Like, if there's a quest that's bugged and just never completes for people, that's not part of the classic experience. It's something you can fix.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so just fix it, Blizzard. Don't be spiteful and say, "Oh, well, you thought you did, but you didn't." Because I know there are people at Blizzard for whom that's going to be the primary temptation, is to just be spiteful about it. When something doesn't work, to just say, "Oh, well, I thought you wanted the classic experience and it was broken the first time we released it there as well." But yeah, so if there's like cheese strats where you can lock up a boss and prevent it from doing anything or something like that, like there's no need to just let that go. You can fix that. People want the experience of actually playing the game, not breaking it. So yeah. I mean, I don't know, but as time rolls on, are they going to have everybody fight 4 Lady Vashas, or?
Well, I hope they do a Burning Crusade Classic one day. That one I would actually take it to max level and seriously play. I would do Burning Crusade in a heartbeat.
I think Burning Crusade was for me the apex of raiding. That was like when it was at the form in which I liked it the most.
Yeah, it's when you could actually play every viable role for your class, and they hadn't introduced all these new systems yet, and the LFG was still not a thing, and the dungeons were still fairly difficult. Like, all this stuff fit together nice and neat in Burning Crusade, and nothing was just horribly broken yet. So if they extended Classic, because they're doing it in phases, right? They're doing it like phase 1 is just Molten Core and Onyxia. Next phase is they're putting in Dire Maul and I think the actual PvP rating system is in, because honorable kills and dishonorable kills are not actually in the game at launch.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's right.
Those
Later.
then after that, they're doing world bosses and Warsong Gulch and AV, and then they're doing Blackwing Lairs in that patch too, and then it's world bosses and Zul'Gurub, and then Arathi Basin and the AQ war event and you can tell who seriously needs to get a job real fast by whoever gets the Scarab Lord mount.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, what's wrong with you? Go get a real life job.
Well, these days there are people whose job it is to play games on stream, so they'll be the ones to get it because they've got a whole bunch of fans to toady around after them, and they'll transfer to whatever server's not got it done yet, so they can have all their fans follow them and do it there.
Abo assured me that we were not on a streamer's server, but I figured out he was wrong.
There's always a few around.
There's a streamer server dedicated on this guild, specifically as a fishing guild for alts of other streamers to go fishing in.
I see.
Okay. That's really annoying.
At least it's not a progression server stream guild or a server. But yeah.
But, the thing with Burning Crusade is that, like, I don't know if they're going to roll that out or not, or how they'll do it, because remember, almost nobody got to see the inside of Naxx, much less complete it before Burning Crusade came in.
Yeah, but we also got to see, at least aesthetically, although not anywhere close to the same level of challenge, Naxxramas post
Yeah.
Wrath of the Lich King, when that came out.
Yeah, Wrath Naxx was toothless.
If I had to guesstimate, it'll be 2 to 3 months for each phase that they're calling it. and honestly, that's not that big a deal for vanilla because it's going to take 2-3 months for everybody to hit level 60 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the people that are actively playing Classic the whole time. Like, and from that subset, it's the people that actually know what they're doing that are going to hit 60. It's more realistic. You're looking at 4 to 5 months for most people before you start seeing a good number of 60s on your server.
Yeah, it's going to take a while, and I wonder how many of like the stream fans are going to stick it out, and whether or not it will remain profitable for streamers to keep playing it in the long term, or whether they are going to ignore it for other games. Or I don't know.
I think with the WoW community, if this is anything to go by, people don't care about modern WoW because everybody that has quit in the interim cares more about vanilla WoW and is more willing to at least watch that on streams. So I think their audience and their potential audience is just way bigger for vanilla WoW than it is for retail WoW. Because people that have quit in the meantime don't care about retail, is what the sentiment seems to be.
Which reminds me, actually, I've seen various numbers thrown around about the vanilla WoW, but I'm not sure how credible a lot of them are.
It's only streamer numbers in comparisons to what it's been on live that we really have as hard data. There is no way to track what Classic's player number is. Yeah. But the number is 3 times bigger than Blizzard expected with their safety precautions in place.
I was wondering initially if it was just a cynical thing, like they wanted to promote the servers, so they deliberately made too few of them so that there would be a news story for quote journalists unquote to cover when they ran out of space and had to open more. But it seems to me like they dramatically underestimated how much people don't like what they did to Live WoW.
Yeah, I think the vitriol for retail WoW is there, and there's finally a forum that exists in an official capacity called Classic WoW, where people can vent that they just don't like current retail WoW and want what's here more than they want what they're working on right now.
BlizzCon next year is going to be very interesting, I think.
It's like,
like what happens if nobody shows up to their new expansion announcement because they're all waiting for the WoW Classic ones?
If they have the new expansion and in the other theater next door, everyone's listening to them re-announce Burning Crusade.
Like our sub numbers are going down. What do we do? Burning Crusade Classic. I'll be all over that. I'm in. Sign me up.
We'll have to do Hellfire Peninsula again.
It's okay. We can just get drunk again.
No, but we're not college students anymore. See,
we can do it on a weekend.
Yeah, I think they could actually milk that all the way up to Wrath, and then they're going to have to diverge.
I don't want them to go to Wrath. I want them to stop at Burning Crusade.
Yeah, Wrath has some good things about it, but it was also the fulcrum on which a lot of their poor decisions started to turn.
Yeah.
Like even though I liked many of the things of early Cataclysm, at that point the power was already in the hands of the people who were going to destroy the game.
Yes.
Yeah, we do not want
like Icecrown Citadel, and at Icecrown Citadel, the ruling force in World of Warcraft was gear score. That was the end of the game.
That was
it. There's a very clear shift. As soon as those 2 5-mans that came out with higher item level crap came out, then all the other raids and totally broke the natural progression chain. That's when WoW died.
Yeah, like the Sunwell 5-man was just sort of a gimmick. Like you couldn't. The gear was powerful there, and I think that the badge gear was too powerful. But it was so late in the day that it didn't really make a huge difference.
Yeah, and it didn't really flex as hard as the Icecrown gear did. Yeah, like you couldn't use it to skip your progression path. You still had to do Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep if you had just got out of Karazhan.
Yeah, you didn't, and you also had to roll a Warlock because you needed to clear Sunwell.
Oh my goodness, that's another thing people have really been surprised by on both the Reddit and in general chat, as people are just totally blown away by class identity being a thing. Like, forget fantasy for a minute. Forget that they ever uttered the words class fantasy. Class identity is a bigger thing that people have just they haven't put this particular string of words behind it yet, but it's what I'm coining it. Where like every class has their utility that they bring that literally nobody else can. Like a druid can battle res, a mage can make food and water and portals, a warlock can summon people. Like this is all stuff that people are just finding incredibly interesting and attaching them to their classes again.
Yeah, it's like the warlock gets added to the group to hand out Hellstone, Soulstone, the healer, and then you get kicked.
Yeah, get kicked for hoarding all the soul stones.
Yeah, and that's also the thing about vanilla is it doesn't really matter if you take a couple people who are suboptimal on the damage meters, unless you're pushing bleeding edge in-game content at the top of your server. Like you're allowed to work with what you got. And it's more about what the utility they bring.
Like my first clear of Wailing Caverns was 4 man with a shaman tank.
I shaman tank that. my first horde shaman that I ever made. We couldn't find a tank for Wailing Caverns. I shaman take that. Put on that rock fighter weapon.
Yeah, they had a threat spell.
Yeah, Earthshock used to do bonus threat.
And you can equip a shield.
Yeah. There were armor increasing talents in the enhancement tree, I think.
And you had chainmail, and you had and that was like that actually meant something. And you had Sentry Totem and Windward Totem, and
if you're using Sentry Totem as a tank, I think
Stone Cold Totem.
I don't see how Sentry Totem is going to help you in Wailing Caverns.
But it's not whether it helps you; it's whether it's cool or not.
Oh, did you hear their reasoning for kicking Eyes of the Beast out of the game was they lost the code and they couldn't put it back in after all the outrage? And they have said in a press release with WoW Classic that they have magically rediscovered the code while making WoW Classic again. So if they decide to reintroduce Eyes of the Beast and Sentry Totem, they'll be able to do it again.
Yeah, presuming they weren't lying to begin with.
Oh, they were, definitely. I mean, it's Blizzard.
Yeah.
Like
how do you tell a Blizzard rep's telling you lies? It's because his lips are moving.
Yeah, it's real easy. So it's been an experience going back to Classic WoW, and it's about everything I hoped it would be going into it. Although I am playing this, I say playing, poking at it right now is more the approach I'm at. I'm not playing yet. It depends on how much, spamming illegal Danish memes at people endears me to the game to make nostalgia just a constant factor. And I don't know how much screaming the healing pants at people is going to keep me stuck with the game.
The healing pants.
You're going to annoy people, at least.
Do you have the healing pants, Arasteel?
I do have a pair of leather healing pants. In fact, I've been trying to get Abo to watch Illegal Danish because he's playing a paladin and I'm playing a druid. And so we can do Rossi and Bastatai bits the whole time we're playing, but he hadn't watched it yet.
Right,
sort of plebeian is he? My goodness. But he's got to, well, I mean, he could do Floyven instead, but
you're making me want to kill myself.
You're going to have to go to Diremore for healing pants.
I am going, if I get those pants from Diremore, they will be linked in guild chat every single day with just the healing pants, the healing pants, the healing pants, the healing pants, 4 times after them with a comment in between each one.
Oh dear.
I might or may not have thought this out when I laid down for bed one night.
That's worrying.
Man, I don't think I could navigate my way through Diremore either.
I couldn't go through any of them but North and whatever the high level one is.
I can handle Sunken Temple because once you actually find the Sunken Temple, all you have to do is basically make circles. But Diremore, right. My goodness.
I remember.
Here's something that's really going to get you upset. Tribute runs.
I'm not doing tribute runs. Screw that.
Nope.
No, I'm not farming Mordok suits.
I don't think I ever actually did one because it was just by the time that I thought about it, like everybody in the guild was just like, no, just no. We're not doing
just
that.
No.
I did it twice, and that was 2 times too many.
What is the purpose? Does it help you equip for Molten Core or something?
It's got really good loot for a 5-man, relatively speaking, if you can get it. It's just it's just really, really big pain in the butt for not nearly enough reward for the effort that goes into making all the Gorog suits, to getting the people that can fudge with the traps, making sure your group comp is a certain, unless you were a druid group, basically, doing a tribute run was a nightmare.
Is it a 5-man or a 10-man? I don't even remember
5-man.
anymore.
5.
Okay.
Dire Maul's
Right.
5. I think it could be 10.
Strathholm
but,
and Skullman's were 10.
Yeah, originally they were.
I think they're 5 in the current iteration. They've already, because we're in 1.12.
Right.
I think
yeah.
I think they were patched down to 5 by now.
Yeah, so Baron Rivendeer's mount's going to be a thing again.
Yes.
All right.
And all my
And so
time
is the
farming in
stupid
live, I
Runspeed
never
sword.
got that mount.
I
I got it
either.
eventually.
I
I
never
got
got
it
it
well
at any
after the
point.
point.
I never did at any point. I tried a lot of times, but I never got it. On the other hand, that was basically the price I had to pay for getting Anzu on my first attempt.
Yeah. I still haven't got an answer either.
Yeah, Anzu's one a lot of people use a lot. I was particular to my Swift Sulian Tiger because I got that one really early.
My
and
brother
I
actually got that
Burning
the
Crusade.
day before the patch that got rid of it hit.
Oh, that must have been a good feeling.
Oh yeah, there is not nearly enough salt in the world for that.
Yeah, I love my Zulian Tiger. It's the only ground mount I ever used in retail live after I got it.
I don't want to do the grind for the Frost Saber again. No, thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I'm just opting not to think about in Vanilla WoW that I know I'll have to go through if I actually get to max level.
But you need them to love you in that tunnel.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Not doing Timber Maw rep. Not doing any of that crap.
Bloodsail Buccaneers?
No.
No.
Oh man.
Cenarian Circle?
No.
Well, that happens. I'm a druid, so that happens automatically.
To a point. You still got to grind
to enough to actually go into AQ?
I can get up to like revered.
Yeah,
I'm already honored with them. I'm almost honored with them for my druid quest alone.
I'm gonna have to start. I'm gonna collect scourge seals and things again.
That's a ways
Scourge
off though,
stones.
before that really matters.
WPL.
Yeah.
Argent Dawn. But you need to get your lightsaber.
You do need to get your lightsaber. Oh man, I can't. We had like a world epic drop, and somebody was spamming it in trade chat trying to sell it for. The price would steadily go down over time because he realized that as much money as he thought it would be worth didn't exist on the server yet.
That much money has not dropped for anybody. I'm sorry.
More than that much money has not dropped for everybody.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The demand may be infinite, dude, but you are literally pricing it outside of the entire collective server's economy, right?
If the whole server clubbed together, they couldn't afford the price you want.
It's just, I saw him dropping it from 500. He was at 50 by the time I got out of trade chat. And people were
no individual player normally has 50 by that stage of the game unless they've been hardcore playing the auction house since the day they logged on.
Even then, we're talking about an auction house where people are broke.
Yeah.
Well, people are making themselves broker using the auction house. That's the problem.
It's actually hilarious. Like, I was all concerned about the auction house being played by people that actually knew economics and
words.
Words that actually knew English and were actually using their auctioneer add-ons and stuff. What I didn't take into account was people are stupid and lazy.
they're not even a little bit stupid. They're a big bit stupid.
Yeah, and so I go on the auction house, and there's just I gotta get Earthroot for my druid quest to learn Cure Poison. Oh, I guess I'll go on the auction house because I'm a Skinner Leatherworker. Oh, it's literally 19 copper. It is cheaper on the auction house than if I just sold it to a vendor immediately after I bought it.
Yep.
So I was laughing quite hard when I saw that, and I thought about it, and I'm like, they have their auction add-on set to just undercut the guy ahead of them, and the starting price is so low that all the auction house has just devolved into undercutting people below vendor price. People are dumb.
People are going to have to talk to other people to get their enchants as well, aren't they?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And actually trust people with the materials.
Uh-huh. You have to trade the materials first.
Which means, inevitably, when someone tries to run off with the materials, then they're going to be blacklisted on the server, because that word gets around quick.
If
In
I'm
the-
totally honest, I tended to choose my enchant based entirely on cosmetics and not at all on game effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember foregoing one tanking enchant because I didn't like the glow it put on my sword.
Farming for Crusader chant.
Oh man, I was an enchanter in Vanilla WoW on my warrior. I don't know why the heck I was an enchanter on my warrior, but I was, and I had to farm that stupid thing.
There was good money up for grabs though if you could get it though.
Well, yeah, it's because you had to. Your main revenue stream came from selling greens, and if you were an enchanter, you didn't have any greens ever.
Yep.
So, yeah, you everything was worth a premium because so few people were willing to actually go through that poverty. Like even if you did the normal route, like the one that I did when I started, which was to be a tailoring enchanter, and then just farm cloth as a means to farming enchanting mats, it was still a slog and a half.
Yeah, it was painful.
And you've got to keep making your new wands, and you've got to find an alchemist to help you do that, and yeesh.
Yep.
It's a mess. But yeah, it is the classic WoW experience, and if I had more time, I would have poked at it. But between the Q boss being something I had to fight and just being generally busy the later half of this week, despite it being a holiday weekend, I went in Friday and nobody was there and nobody was calling, but I still had a ton of work to do.
Yeah, the main reason that I'm not dabbling in it is because there is just not enough time in the day for it.
Yeah.
Like if I was a college student who was a wastrel with nothing to do, no question I'd be playing because there's a lot that I remember fondly about it. Like just even something as simple as the fact that crafted gear mattered. Like if you like I said, I was a tailor. For a warlock, getting to the point where they can craft their full shadow weave set,
That was a big
like
deal.
you feel like a god going from no shadow weave to full shadow weave.
That was BC, wasn't it?
No, that's frozen shadow weave.
Oh, right. Oh, right. Okay, it took a minute.
Yeah, frozen shadow weave was just that's broken raid gear. Regular shadow weave was like a level 40 to 49 set because each piece of the set is at a different level of where you're allowed to use it. And then when you put the whole thing together, you get a massive amount of shadow damage bonus. And despite the fact that it's not max level gear, you're still using it at max level because you are godlike when you're using it. Like you just do so much damage. It was one of the very few sets that just enhanced typed damage, and as a result, the item budget on that enhancement was much less vicious. So the numbers were much higher, and as a warlock, you used a lot of shadow spells. So yeah, you could do a lot of damage. But even if you weren't, like things like the Black Mage Weave set, for instance, like that's a solid intellect set right there. You're actually making a reasonable inroads in your gear progression as you level up by crafting a new piece of gear. Something that nobody crafts new gear for themselves as they level up. Nobody in modern WoW does that.
Yep.
Everybody who could would do it in WoW Classic.
Yeah, because every piece of gear matters in WoW Classic, and this is a big thing we're seeing as we're leveling up.
Intellect doesn't help you do damage, but everybody wants more if you're a caster.
It's just you may hit a threshold where you can do 2 pulls back to back at your level range. That's a big deal, man.
Or if you're a warlock, you just go Dark Pact and then you never stop.
Well, yeah.
Still a big deal, man. You can try out other spells in your spell book.
Yeah, send in that Void Walker and drain life.
Yeah.
So
right.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I ruined one of my mouse buttons from spamming drain life.
That's not good.
I've been practicing hitting the circular fire button in the ground targeter with the controller on Vol as he runs around this area in Horizons, whatever the port town next to Horizon is. I've just been trying to hit him with this circular targeting bit with a controller. So that's how productive in Final Fantasy XIV I've been while we've been talking about WoW.
Running around in circles is a time-honored tradition of all MMOs.
It is.
This place is a fairly good hopscotch arena, even if we're not strictly playing hopscotch.
Well, it's got buildings you can climb up and then jump off,
Yeah,
which I always find as a nice variation on a theme.
I think we've both made like at least 50 laps around this place in the time we've been blabbering about WoW Classic.
But yeah, but the short version is that there's a lot of good memories there. There's a lot of good reasons why that game has chops, and it contains a lot of lessons that Blizzard should have learned and didn't, and instead they had to go to the school of hard knocks because we think we do, but we don't. Part of me just wishes it never came to this.
Yeah,
This shouldn't have been necessary. But it all seems to come down to the Blizzard's hubris that they always know better than the players. They know what's fun. They know what's fun way better than the people who are going to have the fun. So we should just shut up and do what they say.
Their artistic vision is greater than your fun.
Dispensing fun in 3, 2, 1, beep.
You are now have fun. Here is epic number 572,324.
It's meaningless.
Version A, not Titan Forge. Please roll again to get the better version.
Oh, the Titan Forge system is so rant for another time.
I'm not sure why that system has so many apologists. It seems to be strictly bad for the game in a lot of ways.
It's just extra grind.
They think that they can motivate people to play the game more by simply doing that, but I don't think it's actually panned out for them.
I'd rather have more upfront grind to get a piece I know is going to be useful than grind a bit, get the piece, and then find out it's not Titan Forge and therefore useless, and go through the grind again.
And then do it again. But yeah. It's so interesting looking and comparing WoW Classic to WoW Retail. There's a fairly milquetoast YouTuber who I found while I was playing WoW Classic that I could turn on in the background because Abo doesn't talk very much. Unless he's got a conversation point he's really on that particular moment.
Or he's trying to pressure you into playing WoW Classic.
Yeah. So, he didn't so much pressure me as just keep talking about it, and then nostalgia took over the rest.
He knew that would happen.
Nostalgia is very powerful.
It is. But yeah, it's like Mad Show something is his name. He's like super milquetoast and chillax dude. And I love his quote about comparing retail and classic though. He's like, I can't even really do it. It's like comparing apples to calculators.
Crappy calculators?
Yeah, but it's totally true. It's like...
Yeah, it's like I said at the start, they're designed for different purposes. One of them is designed to have the player do things in the world, and the other one is designed to be a ride which dictates everything that you do beat by beat.
Yeah. So it's fun remembering the apple that was originally the calculator that eventually turned into the calculator. Ooh, I lost that sentence like halfway through and had to pick it back up.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I got to leave the what's it. Okay.
But yeah, just a thing that's been going on. I will probably report back more and with less nostalgia waxing and more what's going on as I poke at it a bit more. Hopefully in a week where I have more than like 3 hours to play.
If nothing else, I'm very interested to see how it goes, how it develops as a project in the long term. Like whether or not people stick to it, who continues to stick to it, and who leaves. Whether or not the release of another World of Warcraft expansion actually takes, or whether because all the people who are just up for the newest thing, they'll join WoW Classic as well, but then they'll also take off, and then the next WoW expansion comes out. So I'm sort of interested to see whether or not they'll be able to lure the same number of people away, or whether they're just going to cannibalize their own user base and have everybody keep playing WoW Classic. Yeah, and I'm also interested in what sort of systems developments they choose going forward. Like, are they going to fix the escort quests? Because it sounds like they aren't planning to. And most of those escort quests are unpleasant because they are buggy. In as much as everybody hates escort quests, the problem with World of Warcraft escort quests is that when you finish them, you don't get credit.
Yeah, dude. I was talking to Abo. I'm like, man, I can't wait till people have to do the Marshall Windsor attunement quest for Onyxia.
Oh boy!
I was a Horde player. Our attunement required actual work.
Yeah, it required almost twice the work that the Alliance achievement did.
Yeah, y'all had to do a whole lot more running around and a whole lot more stuff in the world, but y'all didn't have to put up with Marshall Windsor, and I did both. I would gladly do the Horde again than have to ever put up with the Marshall Windsor escort quest ever again. And it's because if you're in a guild and you're trying to get everybody attuned for Onyxia on your characters, when you're doing Marshall Windsor, there's like 5 stages to the quest that can screw up when people are turning stuff in to start the escort. You have to escort him to the start of Blackrock Deeps. And if you leave, he'll stop in front of the door. And this happened every single time. At least one person would do this. Everything will be going just hunky-dory for them on the quest until they get to the front door. And then he'll stop and wait for like 45 seconds before the quest completes. And if you leave the zone, you auto-fail the quest. And they'll think they need to zone out or something to complete the escort. Happened every single time.
Right, so this is a stupid person problem, though. This is not actually a bug in the conventional sense.
Yeah, it's just the Horde did not have the extra incentive for people to do what they do as people, which is be stupid.
Yeah, I never had the same sort of degree of frustration with escort quests in World of Warcraft that most people seem to. And I think that's probably because I cut my teeth on Guild Wars for MMOs. And in Guild Wars, you spend a lot of time with an NPC named Prince Rurik. The fan nickname for among Guild Wars players for Prince Rurik was Captain Suicide, because he was almost always one of your escort subjects early on in the game, and he would run headlong into anything. Like if there was he had an aggro radius which was the size of the planet. If there was a hostile thing anywhere remotely within range of you could feasibly draw a path from point A to point B, then he would chase it down and he would attack it, no matter how many of them there were, and he could run way faster than the players.
Dear. Anywho, we should take a break, because otherwise we're going to be talking about Vanilla WoW all day.
Yeah, we should. Oh, holy crap! It's 2 hours into the show.
So that was.
Well, to be fair, WoW Classic is a pretty significant happening amongst MMOs, which, since we were spawned out of the belly of WoW Radio, it's sort of apropos for us to keep abreast of it.
I suppose so. We have made a whole lot of 2-hour-long production, me trying to line up my shot and hit Vol as he runs around the city in this little port town. I've gotten quite good at aiming this thing with my controller. So it wasn't all a waste.
I can't even aim that thing with the mouse. Like, I very rarely manage to hit any of those arms in Praetorium that come out of the walls.
Yeah.
Normally because by the time I get to them, I can't see because of the amount of particle effects in the air.
the air is full of DACA. Anywho, music break.
We'll be right back after some Muzak. And we're back, and I am finding new creative ways to shoot my laser beam that does no damage and make things explode.
It just explodes things for the sake of exploding things.
I'm kind of surprised more people don't run around in this thing and make things explode.
They did back in Realm Reborn.
I think the novelty is worn off for a lot of people. There's somebody who's just standing next to me and spamming poke now. I kind of don't want to give him the satisfaction of moving, though.
That's okay, I'll blow him up for you. I'll just keep exploding him.
Let it AFK naturally.
This will clearly solve the problem if I just keep making it explode.
Alright, so we've already knocked out one of the biggest news articles, which was Classic WoW. So we've got a bunch of other smaller stuff. There's other stuff that happened this week that we're not going to talk about, and that's all I'm going to say on it because it's pretty nasty stuff.
Well, there is a nasty stuff I might want to make an allusion to, at least, if we want to use that as a segue.
On the Vic front?
Also, did anybody... Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody check the email before I forget?
I did.
forgot to...
There's nothing there.
Okay.
Yeah, because I forgot. We do not have any.
We're quite bad at this.
Yes.
Alright.
So, yeah. We could take that nasty and do a segue.
If you want to talk about Vic stuff, go for it.
We'll be quick about it because it's not a whole lot going on here. It's just Funimation's a bunch of raging hypocrites. So with official Dragon Ball Z material, with the official voice actors for select characters, Mr. Popo Abridged is now canon.
Yeah.
And Kami's Lookout is now analogous to a gay pink pony. For those of you that know your strip clubs.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a gay orgy that the voice actors made is an audio drama using official materials from Toei as the voices of the characters from Dragon Ball Z. And they fired Vic for, air quote, sexual misconduct, despite the fact that they have an audio play in character with the Dragon Ball Z characters in the middle of a gay orgy. Mr. Popo, get the sacred ointment.
Yeah.
There is
Toei,
also,
needless to say, is not happy.
No. Funimation's Twitter account went private, at least for a little bit. They were trending #1 internationally for a little bit.
They were. And all for the wrong reasons.
It's like, oh, a new anime announcement is what a lot of people that were not involved in any of the Vic shenanigans thought.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought, oh, Funimation's announcement. It must be some sort of new, either something to do with Vic or new anime announcement. And then I just saw, oh no.
Apply the ointment on me, Kami.
Oh no. So yeah, that's definitely a thing that's going on, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, and that's the tip of the iceberg. There are more recordings. The only place I
Each
know
more
that
salacious than the last.
yeah, that's the safest for work one.
Oh no.
The only place I know that has a stable download for them is not accessible to most countries outside the US, but you can go on the Kiwi Farms Weeboards forum, subforum, and find them all there. Noel has conveniently turned them all into an audio file for you to download directly to your computer.
For your convenience and ear bleeding.
It was for research officer, I swear.
and not just to make fun of people.
It was for an internet podcast officer, not for personal enjoyment, I swear.
Oh dear.
Sure you do. Sure you do.
So that's not the only thing that's come out on the Vic front, but it's probably the only thing we're really going to touch on for the show. There's been some even other stuff.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, bringing up the Ron Toye shenanigans and stuff doesn't really fit. With our we can cover the media aspect of stuff and the entertainment industry stuff, but I don't want to talk about the individual players.
It's people's dirty laundry, basically.
It is people's dirty laundry.
I'm okay with talking about a company and its employees misusing contracted materials. I don't care that the guy accusing people of being against the Whammons is a wife beater. And I think that'll be enough to stoke the viewers' interest if they want more information on that.
Let's leave it at that for that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, just that the Vic case is continuing.
But yeah, so long story short is they're all a bunch of hypocrites.
Actually, we've got the court hearing for a lot of the bits and pieces on the 6th, don't we?
Yep, this coming week.
Yep, that's going to be interesting. It's on Monster Hunter Day.
Yep. Oh, as a heads up, again, I will not be here next week in all likelihood, and the week after is looking fuzzy. I'll be out of town leaving Sunday morning. Our show goes into Sunday morning, so depending on if I have to leave literally right away or if I'm allowed to wait, we will see.
We shall see.
And I will be getting back Saturday day, but if I am late, obviously it'll be Saturday evening, and the show starts Saturday evening for me. So this next week and the week after may be a little fuzzy with me on the show, but we will see how it goes.
Indeed. So okay, what's the next news article then?
Got to scroll past the Hildebrand.
You should never scroll past Hildebrand.
That's oh wait, that's the live show chat.
That's the wrong window.
That's the wrong tab.
All right, how about this one? We'll go with this. Telltale Games. You're not dead anymore.
Yeah, I saw this article and didn't actually read it.
So, it's been picked up by another company, which I'm forgetting the name for it right at the moment because my browser's being dumb. Alright, there we go. So, it's been picked up by LGC, who are the guys who did... what did they do now? Oh, right. A Power Rangers game, apparently. So that's, I guess, a thing. They haven't gotten all of their old content, like the things like The Walking Dead and some of their other licenses are gone. But apparently there is a Batman game back in production, as well as Wolf Among Us 2.
Well, I mean, the thing is that they hadn't produced anything good in a while.
Their last high point was
finally,
Tales of the Borderlands.
Yeah, then it just devolved into Walking Dead garbage that nobody cares about.
Yeah. I played through the first Batman game of theirs, and it was okay.
Do I have that on PS Plus? Is
Yes,
that one
you
of
do.
those? Right.
Yeah, it was a freebie a while ago, so you can go and just play through it. I also played through the Guardian... Well, actually, no, that's not true. I played through the first episode of Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and kind of just lost interest in it.
On that note, is it my imagination or did the whole episodic games thing just die the death?
Oh, yeah, it did.
It died the death before it even got off the ground. Remember when Valve said, "Oh, don't worry, we'll have Half-Life 3 out because Half-Life 1 episode 1, 2, and 3 will be easier and faster to make." That was the first time I ever heard of episodic gaming, and it died before that series could even finish.
Yeah, and they weren't the only ones to kind of get halfway through a series and fail to fess up a product. Blah.
People have been waiting for Half-Life 3 so long that even the meme is dead.
Yeah. Says it all, really, doesn't it? So, really, Telltale was about the only company that was reliably producing episodic content. So, I'm kind of glad to see them back. Like, maybe now that they've lost some of those big, overwhelming licenses, we might see something interesting and something new from them, but wouldn't hold my breath. As long as they make Wolf Among Us 2, that'd be good.
I was interested in the Fables universe, but the few comics I checked out were actually quite bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the question is like, are they calling themselves comics or are they calling themselves graphic novels?
I don't remember. It was so long ago.
Because if it's calling itself a graphic novel, then it's liable to be pretentious as heck.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just call a duck,
But it's
or
a
an apple
griffin.
a calculator.
Yeah,
call a
Ducks,
griffin a
griffins,
duck.
same.
Call a griffin a duck. All right, so yeah, Telltale is going to come back. We'll see what comes from that. There's not a whole lot more to really say about that.
I attempted to follow Vol on Maggie and have gotten. I somehow walked off the edge because I couldn't see where I was going through a doorway and wound up in a wonky spot inside the wall. And now I'm back on the ground.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could come up here.
You didn't used to be able to because Mordona is a town that was built over the course of patches. Like each time they brought out another patch, there was a little bit more construction.
Yep.
I see. Come, Maggie. We can make this jump.
Oh dear.
I wonder what we can hit from up here.
Okay, what on earth is that? It's some sort of Albies hamster thing. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to shoot it and make it go away because it's a big goofy thing. All right, next news article.
We have that. So as a follow-up from last week, Ion Fury is retracting their censorship of their game. It
Yay.
turns out that yes, actually, Gay Soap is a hill to die on for a joke.
Well, I mean, that seems sensible to me. Like, I mean, there's ostensibly there's no difference between somebody deciding that they can scold you for putting a gay soap joke in and any other type of joke and any other type of thought like this. This is one of those situations where a slippery slope is not a real thing for the simple fact that that's just a cliff face. You let somebody tell you what you can and cannot say, and that's it. Game over.
It's also soap, so it is quite slippery. You got to be
Yes.
careful with that.
yes.
I suppose that's true. But yeah, it's I applaud them for that. Like, there's other stuff that they left cut out, but that stuff I'm not really concerned about since it wasn't content for the consumption of gamers. It was stuff like outside the game, like
Yeah.
slurs and stuff that were recorded in inaccessible areas by devs being cheeky or whatever. Like, I don't care about that because it wasn't intended for the gamers to begin with.
Yes, that doesn't matter.
So I don't really care if it's in there or not. But somebody made that gay soap joke to entertain people who played the game.
It's probably something that
That's-
nobody would have noticed had attention.
Oh no, I think people would notice because people like to notice things like. The thing is that game, if you think about that game, it's like pitched at the people who still think that Duke 3D is an awesome game and play it all the time.
True.
Yeah.
It's just a bar of soap called Ogay.
Yeah.
Like play on Olay.
Yeah.
The American hair product.
It's
Like-
everywhere.
We have that brand here as well. Like that's associated with an entire other set of jokes for me because I went on a school camp when I was in Form 4. I don't know what Form 4 is in Americanese. But we had to pack all the usual stuff for outdoorsy camps. And one of the things that everybody has on their packing list is sunblock because we're going to be, kayaking down a river in the blazing hot sun all day. And the thing with Oil of Olay is that it's exclusively associated with women. And one guy had brought sunscreen which just happened to be Oil of Olay brand. So every time he had to get it out and put it on, he would just put on this incredibly camp voice when talking about putting on his Oil of Olay. So yeah, it was okay. There's like the joke is way funnier for me than it is for most people.
Oil of Hoye.
Oh my.
All right. Let me see what's next. Here's a bit of news I should be excited about, but instead I'm getting incredibly cynical about. And that's Homeworld 3.
This one's all you.
But Homeworld's like the hardest game ever made.
It is. Deserts of Karak was released a while ago, and it was okay, but it was hard as nails.
Yeah, I conceptually love Homeworld. Conceptually. Yes. I just don't love playing it because it's like getting bent over. It's not fun at all. after a little bit of getting your backside handed to you on a platter over and over and over.
Yeah, that's not fun.
It's just like this game is like Dwarf Fortress, except they actually expect you to be able to complete it.
Yes. It's even less fun when
Yeah.
you get halfway through the campaign and realize you've gypped yourself 3 missions back.
Ugh. But it's so cool. It's such a
cool.
thoroughly realized universe. It's gorgeous to look at. Everything about it is cool, except it's designed for people with a brain much bigger than mine and the abilities of precognition.
Yes. So the reason I'm not excited about this, and it's setting off all my BS triggers, is first and foremost Gearbox. I'm always going to be cynical about Gearbox as long as Randy Pitchford's at the helm, and they did lock 2 playable factions of Desert Karak behind a paywall.
Mm.
But also, they've put this onto Fig as a crowdfunding thing, but they've only got a value of $1.
Well, Fig is dead.
Fig is dead. Yes, it is.
Like Fig has never successfully accomplished its purpose in the history of ever.
Nope.
Isn't that the Tim Schafer one?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one we talked about it a few shows back because Microsoft bought out the only projects on it.
Yes.
Like straight up bought them out.
Anything
So
actual
there was
value
no
is gone.
there was no residuals or royalties. It was just like all of the investment was paid out all at once. So nobody got ongoing money from it, which was the dream that a lot of people had, was that, they would become investors in a game and they would continue to get residuals as long as the game kept selling. And instead, Microsoft just bought out the projects and then paid them back at a decent investment rate, but not a great one. Like, a few percent.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's I thought that meant that Fig was dead because there was only those 2 projects, Psychonauts 2 and I can't remember what the other one was, Wasteland? Maybe?
Yes, Wasteland.
Yeah. That was it. Nobody cared about anything else on there. So I'm sort of surprised that anybody would put anything on Fig now, especially considering the bloom really seems to be tumbling off the crowdfunding flower with the likes of, the new Shenmue project, for instance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Crowdfunding shot itself in the face a few years back and has never recovered.
There's still, I still see people defending Star Citizen. Like, that just absolutely convinced it's the best game ever. And the only reason it's taking so long is because they've had to develop so much new tech for it and so on and so forth. But
they didn't
until
have
there's,
to.
until they can release a retail product, I don't even care. Like, they're not delivering. They've missed every delivery date. And I don't really care what excuse you give for that. They still missed every delivery date.
Remember back when Keiji Inafune still had a reputation? They could be used to fund his product.
Yeah.
Then Mighty Number 9 happened.
And then everybody suddenly remembered he didn't actually make Mega Man.
Yeah, I mean, he was there. He saw it happen.
Yeah.
Is that good enough?
So,
Like,
just...
it really has. I've been really glad for that one aspect of crowdfunding. It has shown us who of the air quote heroes of the gaming industry are frauds and which ones are worth paying attention to. Like, Iga screwed up a lot of things about Bloodstained, but he listened to the fans. And that gives him a solid red stamp of checkmark in my book. But then you have, like, Inafune, who just, like, maybe he was able to pull his weight before, and you had that in your head, and then you saw Project Mighty Number 9, you're just like, no.
Like an anime fan at prom night.
And,
Yeah.
and then they released the next Mega Man anyway.
Yeah, which sold really well.
It's like,
People loved it because it's Mega Man.
And then you see the big companies jump on board. I think Shenmue was the one for the big companies where they shot themselves in the face there. They already had their left cheek hanging out after they missed with Mighty Number 9 and did enough damage to make themselves never, ever win a beauty pageant ever again.
We should have really picked up on it when we way back in what was it, like almost a decade ago when we went to PAX or whatever. It feels like it was almost a decade ago. I have no idea how long ago it actually was. Okay.
5 years? Let's go
So
with
half
5
a decade
years.
ago.
Half a decade.
Yeah. And we went to the Star Citizen panel.
Yes.
And they spent almost the entire time talking about Wing Commander
Yeah,
because that's what they wanted people to be thinking about.
Yeah.
They didn't want people to think about whether or not they actually had a product.
had they even just sat around and talked about Freelancer for a while, I would have been happy. But they didn't talk about Star Citizen except say, hey, look at all this money we've got.
Yeah, they just talked about, their nostalgia and who they wanted people to see them as. They wanted people to see them as like the Wing Commander people.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, but people are not here for Wing Commander.
It didn't get better after you fell asleep, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised.
Did he fall?
I literally did fall
Yes,
asleep in that
he
panel.
did.
Yes. I just passed out. It was so boring.
Just conked out, done. And
Yeah,
yeah,
like
it
the,
was...
compared to like the live D&D game in the tiny overpacked room with the crappy sound system, like that was way more fun than the massive theater full of the Star Citizen people talking about how much they like Wing Commander.
Yeah.
Like that's how you don't do a panel, guys.
So boring. And yeah, at the end of the day, you walk out of it and you knew less about Star Citizen than you did walking in, honestly.
Yeah, it's like Kilrathi? Like, were they in Star Citizen? I don't even know. That was a disaster. The thing is, I see are people who, on any other topic, are perfectly rational, will still defend Star Citizen if they've got money invested. Like, it's just the sunk cost fallacy, I guess.
I think it is at this point. So yeah, that's one of the big reasons I'm getting the BS meet bells dinging on Homeworld 3. And the other one, of course, is it's going to end up as an Epic exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gearbox have basically sold their soul. But I mean, it's possible that the Epic Store simply crash and burn before it comes out.
There's some wobbling happening there from the little bits and pieces I've seen come out of the last couple of days, but nothing concrete.
It's going to take a pretty big hit to knock it over completely. I don't
Oh,
know how long they're going to keep playing this game, but
the only thing that's needed to crash and burn is for them to reach the end of the next financial year and it turns out that nothing hit their projections, and then their investors will be saying, hold on.
We want out of these
This was
deals.
you said this was a sure thing, that you were going to take over the industry and you had the money to bankroll this whole takeover, and you have failed to deliver. Because frankly, people are failing to deliver. The issue is there's too many people who listen to influencers now. Like before, you could have probably got away with this because there were a handful of canny people who would, they would do shows like Octale and Hordak and they'd rail against microtransactions, and they were basically speaking into the void because, people weren't as well connected then. Social media influencers didn't have that much power. All that needs to happen to Epic is for the wrong streamer to get ticked off that they can't get their game the way they want, and to just dirty their name in front of all the kids, and that'll be it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're playing a dangerous game, and they're not doing it on very steady ground.
Yeah, I think it'll kind of run for a bit until the Fortnite bubble busts.
Like I don't think it's gonna. When I say crash and burn, I don't mean it's just gonna implode overnight. I mean that it's gonna be relegated to that position where all of the other ones are, like EA Origin and like the Ubi one, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That's
how much it matters.
You play.
Yeah, you play. It's going to end up there. That's the logical endpoint for what they're doing. Like they put a lot of money into it up front, but it hasn't really taken. I mean, if you compare the next nearest sort of entry into that attempt to do that is probably like Discord. And do you know anybody who buys things off Discord?
Nope.
I didn't know Discord had a shop.
Yeah,
it does have a shop, but I don't remember how to get to it.
How do you get to it?
Because I hid all of that functionality because I didn't.
Oh, right. It popped up and I asked Abo how you turn that off and never have to see it again.
Yeah, so I did that as well, and I have no idea how to get it back, even if I wanted to.
Yeah, likewise.
But yeah, Discord ostensibly has a store. That's the take home from that, and I think that's where you end up eventually if you just assume that you're entitled to win that fight.
Yep. All right. So that's that. Like, I want to play Homeworld 3. Technically, Homeworld 3 exists, except it's not called Cataclysm anymore. You can't call it Cataclysm. I forget what they actually renamed it to.
Patch 4.1, Death of World of Warcraft. That's all Cataclysm means to me.
Well, that's what happened to the Homeworld Cataclysm name is World of Warcraft happened. So, alright. Last article for the day, and it's nice, juicy, low-hanging fruit. So everyone get your sticks. Astral Chain.
I don't know anything about the game, and I don't actually care because it's too much fun watching the reviewers.
The game, more or less, it looks like Police, Personas, and Platinum. Basically Bayonetta, except with Police and Personas.
I've heard people say things like the combat doesn't have the depth that it promises. It's just pretty much a hollow shell of a game. But yeah, I don't know from first-hand experience.
Yeah, I want to play the game. It looks quite fun.
It looks interesting from what I've seen. I have not picked it up yet, but yeah, the point of this news bit though is we have some very similar thoughts going through our heads as our sights are not exactly blinded in the curtain of red. However, some people's frustration is getting bigger because these game journalists can't pull their devil triggers.
Except they don't know the words of that song because they weren't good enough to get the music to play.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
not to mention they probably literally couldn't find that button on a controller.
Oh, we're talking about a group of people that can't air dash or double jump. So,
being unable to double jump is just, yeah.
Never forget Polygon Cuphead.
Wow, it was so bad. So they're doing it again.
Yeah. So there is apparently a scoring system a la Platinum Games. You know, you do well, you get a grade at the end of a mission, or you get a grade as you play. And game journos were complaining that the game didn't have one. Well, it doesn't have one if you play on the easiest baby mode difficulty.
Mm-hmm. You got to remember, this is a Platinum game. It's designed to be played at hard.
Yeah. In that vein, I hear that the re-release of Catherine has a mode that the game literally plays itself for you.
It does. They call it game journalist mode, I wonder.
I think people are calling it game journalist mode, but it has its own name, I think.
Yeah, it's to be fair, Catherine is a really stupid hard game at some points. Even on normal.
It is.
Like, Catherine kicked my butt up and down the sidewalk on normal. I'm not a master of puzzle games, but I'm not particularly awful at them either. I'm smack in the middle of the road, and that game kicked my butt.
Yeah. So anyway, Astral Chain, you've got reviewers, they're complaining that there's no scoring system. They're complaining that the combat gets repetitive very quickly. Yeah, this is a Platinum game. Bayonetta did the same thing. You don't get graded if you're playing it on easy. And the combat does get very difficult because you can't afford to get the new abilities.
So, I liken this to playing Devil May Cry 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole list of moves you can buy, and if you play on easy, you ain't gonna have the red orbs to afford any of them.
Yep.
Well, more to the point, they're not really necessary because you can one-button spam your way through most of the game if you play it on super easy.
Yeah, the difficulty never really necessitates learning how to play the game properly.
Easy mode has been unlocked. Virgil!
So yeah, this is just low-hanging fruit, as I said. It's happens again. And they don't learn.
Yeah, do they not get tired of humiliating themselves? Like, if it were me, at some point, I would be so ashamed that I would at least make an attempt to get good.
We can't make an equivalence to us and these people, though, because we wouldn't let ourselves get in this position in the first place. If it was our job to do a thing, we would be sure we could do the thing.
I mean, I'm not even asking them to do the thing well. Like, it's not like I expect, you know, every person who reviews a fighting game to also be, you know, an FGC champion.
Like,
although, you know, that person might give a better review in certain respects. But for regular purposes, I want them to at least be, familiar with the basic architecture of most games, not,
You don't. Yeah, you don't
expecting the
have
game to
to.
present everything to them for free.
You don't have to platy DMC5 to review it, but if you at least know how the combo system works, it might be helpful.
This is sort of coming in clear now why they liked DMC Devil May Cry so much, because that was a Devil May Cry game that I was able to finish in like one sitting, sort of thing.
Yeah, you could
And
finish it in one sitting.
I could barely finish a level in the other Devil May Cry games by comparison. So
I'm here to tell you, most of the difficulty in that game comes from the handache you'll have from the optimal combo, which is not hard to figure out, and you repeat the same one over and over again to platy it and S rank everything.
Yeah, see, I selected hard on that. I played through the whole game on hard.
Yeah.
And I can barely get through a level on normal on any other DMC. Like, the games journalists love that one. I wonder if they played it on easy too.
Probably.
Because I can't even imagine what that must be like.
Take a nap,
Yeah.
and suddenly the game's over.
Yeah, if a game journalist could tell me half the moves that Cerberus has in DMC5, the new one with the 3 modes, if they could tell me half the moves of one of the variants of it, I would say they're probably okay to review the game.
Bet he only
no.
uses half of his move pool below normal.
It reminds me of one video game journalist, in air quotes, who was playing Devil May Cry 3 on its re-release, and he says in the middle of the Cerberus fight, maybe I should try my melee weapon out. I've only used my guns this entire playthrough.
But
how?
That seems really tiring.
Yeah,
There
are so many things wrong with that.
I forget the rest of the context for the review, in air quotes, or the video he was doing, but he was just shooting with ebony and ivory the whole time.
But they do
Maybe he
rubbish
just really likes
damage.
steel pistols.
Like, this is the level of brain damage we're dealing with here.
Oh dear. Just
Like,
why?
Well, it's not even just brain damage, just like sheer unprofessionalism.
Yeah,
Like,
if you want,
this is why conventional games journalism is dying the death, is because if you want to see a review, you can find somebody who, doesn't suck balls on YouTube and just watch them play instead of, getting some idiot to tell you what it's like to play on easy while pressing only one button for the entire experience.
Yes.
Like, there's literally a player for every skill level on YouTube talking about it. You have the insane people like me that play these type of games and hate themselves, or masochists. And then you have, the normal people who play it, which are most, independent reviewers. And then you have game journos.
If you want scrub mode.
I mean, I don't know why you would want the scrub mode playthrough, because you don't need to review a game properly if you're playing any game in scrub mode.
You just go watch Polygon play Doom. It's hours of laughs.
I had to turn it off. There's a critical level of secondhand embarrassment where if the person starts realizing they're embarrassed, I just start feeling awful.
But they never do.
No, in the Doom one, I felt like he was starting to get it, or whoever was doing it. And they couldn't aim the gun. I'm like, oh no. They're starting to realize they done goofed.
It's a first-person shooter, and you don't know which way the gun's supposed to point. Yeah.
Have you played a game before? Is that a thing that you do as a games journalist?
No. We just read the story summaries and look at other reviewers and what they said about the gameplay.
It's not that hard to do the job. It's just have a basic understanding of how the game functions, and then talk about it.
And to be fair, most journalists aren't in video games journalism because they like video games or want to be there. They're there because they failed to get a job at HuffPo.
Yeah.
They're there for the exact opposite reason they like video games. They hate video games and the people that play video games because this is the job they had to resort to after they couldn't get a job at their favorite lefty newspaper.
Dear. Anyway, anything else to talk about this week?
I'm not joking, by the way.
Nope, you're not.
What else happened this week? I'm trying to think if there was anything.
It actually was a pretty busy week, but we are approaching 3 hours. I'm
Yeah.
sure there was a lot of little stuff we could cover off the top of my head. I don't remember anything specifically, but I remember there was a lot of stuff I meant to paste in there and just didn't get around to.
I spent most of the week being entertained by Kick Vic drama. Like,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
pretty much my week. My free time was me doing dungeons and Final Fantasy and listening to just
If
the wheels falling off.
if you want to go and just listen to an absolutely epic rant, Nick Recator's latest stream.
Do not watch the Nick stream from not this latest one or the one before it, but the one before that with Ty on it. He boomered it harder than I've seen him boomer a stream in a long time.
Oh, that's
All
bad.
the technical issues.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
But I will give a warning about the latest one. Turn your volume down and then turn it back up slowly.
Put your headphones on because
Yeah,
you're
just-
not going to want to have other people hear what you're listening to.
Yeah, it just be mindful of your earballs because it gets loud. So yeah.
Yeah.
We
So,
might end
yeah.
up talking more about Vic stuff next week, actually, because that's all
Yeah,
going to
because
fall apart.
it sounds like there's still more to come though, and they're going to be hitting their like moment of truth for the TCPA filing. So
Oh, Yamcha, there's always more to come.
I'm just dead. This is it's going to be interesting.
Email topic of the week. Tell us about the sacred ointment, Mr. Popo.
No,
no. We don't need to hear anything about that, Mr. Popo.
all of the nope.
Okay, closing comments, I guess, and go.
I'm not sure why these large-scale leave quests are a thing. It's basically a regular leave quest, just more of it.
Does it like reward significantly better?
I assume so.
Like, is it more than the multiples of tokens you'd need to spend or ventures or whatever? I don't even know what they're called.
Allowances.
Allowances, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Oh,
Mm,
You and Fern
I
had
remember-
almost 2 mounts, and I only got 2.
I remember doing them just once, and never again. So obviously, I wasn't particularly.
yeah. Leave quests tend to be a bit boring.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Where were we?
Pickle.
Pickle?
Pickle.
Oh, Maggie just started auto walking in a direction in Final Fantasy XIV, and that means lag.
I
Usually.
see.
Have I ever mentioned how scary lag is in this game?
You're telling that to us.
Because
Yeah,
you
we-
just
we-
keep going.
We did Titan Extreme, man.
Yeah. I've done Time
Oh.
Extreme, and last time I did, I ended up spending half the fight at the bottom of a pit.
Yeah, that pretty much just happens to random people like this. It's not necessarily a question of skill.
Yeah, that's just Titan.
Oh,
Sometimes
man.
he just decides that you need to be in the pit now.
Really, Squeenix censored the remaster of Final Fantasy VIII? Is that
Because
really
so.
necessary?
All they did was, well, actually, they did a couple things. They pulled up the shirt on Rena so her cleavage isn't as cleavage, and they took away the bikini on one of the siren type enemies.
No, they didn't. It's not they took away the bikini so much. They just added a whole pile of extra feathers to cover her crotch up,
Right.
which
Yeah.
they didn't do for Shiva for reasons that are inexplicable, considering they both are like wearing a C string basically, except one of them is now covered up and one of them is not. So I don't know. Like,
Look-
I don't understand where they're going with all of the censorship. Like, I'm not especially attached to the particularly lewd designs. I just don't like the fact that it's been changed.
Mm-hmm.
I think like if there was a good reason for it to be changed, that'd be one thing. But this is just I want to know the motivations of the person doing this,
Just
because I'm pretty sure it's not because they think it's better or because they think it's for anyone's good.
if they pulled a Todd Howard and just lied to me and told me it was for some country's laws, I could buy that. Just lie to me. Don't just do this.
works.
Yeah, just Todd Howard or Peter Molyneux this to me. Don't change it and then say because censorship.
I suppose the other news that might be worth mentioning before we out is the announcement of the new Yakuza.
Oh yes.
Right. So I thought this was an April Fool's joke when it was going to be.
Ari, it's not April.
Well, no, not now, but back when the original trailer came out, it was around April 1st. That
Right.
showed the turn-based combat. So we thought it was going to be just an April Fool's joke. We're like, oh, it's probably going to be a mini game or something, because they seem to put a whole lot of effort into this. But there's no way they would.
Into their mini games.
It would not be that far out of a stretch. But no. We have semi-turn-based combat for Yakuza 7.
I might actually be interested in playing it. I can handle turn-based combat a lot better.
It's not exactly like the combat system in Yakuza is particularly deep.
Yeah, I know. It's just that it requires me to stay awake, and I can't abandon my console in the middle of a fight and wander off and make a sandwich if it's real-time combat. But,
It's not like it takes very long if you need to end it. You just find something nearby, like a bike rack, you can stuff somebody down hard enough on by their butt that it makes them pass out.
Yeah, and like I was saying to you this week, I saw a clip of what's his name, Kiryu, shooting a guy 3 times in the chest and then pistol whipping him, and you tell me he doesn't ever kill people.
Yeah, I've done that.
Guy lived.
Yeah, he lived. I've done that to somebody out a window.
I have caved somebody's face in with an orange.
People in that era in Japan must have been very, very durable.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Kazuma Kiryu canonically has never killed a person.
Yeah.
He sent an awful lot to intensive care then.
Very, very intensive care. They
He
may have
has
actually
never-
just died later.
Yeah, whether or not he has shortened their lifespan to minutes after receiving emergency medical treatment, we don't know. But canonically, he is never directly responsible for the death of any person in the Yakuza universe.
He has, however, done incredible things for the dental industry.
Oh yeah, where do you think all that Yakuza Zero money came from? How do you think all that money is floating around?
Money fights.
The thing that's bothered me about this, I suppose, is that all of the game's journalists regulars are comparing it to Persona 5.
What?
So it's like,
Why?
oh, well, Persona 5 invented turn-based combat JRPGs, apparently. Like, these guys, they have no history with games whatsoever. They don't know anything that didn't come out in the last 5 years. Like, the what I've been seeing lately is that Persona 5 has become the Dark Souls of JRPGs.
Don't
And
say
by
that.
that, I don't mean that Persona 5 is alleged to be hard. What I mean is that they just arbitrarily describe every JRPG in its relation to Persona 5.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's like this other thing that sticks out in our memory.
Anyway.
All right. Let's get out of here.
All right, folks. We will see you next week with even more Bring the Sacred Ointment, Mr. Popo.
No,
we won't. I certainly hope not anyway.
It's looking like it's going to be a whole lot worse than the Sacred Ointment with Mr. Popo.
Oh, boy.
I will advise everybody to avoid the Chi-Chi Gohan one.
And now my brain is screaming.
It's worse than you think.
Oh, dear. Anyway,
Just
do the thing.
Yeah. We'll see you next week with the Sacred Ointment, Mr. Popo. Sayonara. Bye-bye.